Lu Moyu was wearing shorts and a white camisole that slipped off one shoulder. She turned sideways and wrapped her arms around Lin Hao. Her waist-length hair fluttered in the sea breeze, brushing against Lin Hao's nose. Achoo! Lin Hao jolted awake. In his dream, he felt restrained, unable to move a muscle. When he opened his eyes, he was confused. Why was the ceiling of his room replaced by open sky? The sky? His drowsy eyes flew wide open. He then felt a warm, soft weight resting on his right arm. A delicate hand lay atop his chest, and one slender leg draped over his thighs. As the sea wind swept over, the gentle scent of her hair grew stronger. This smell is familiar. Lin Hao turned his head. Sure enough, it was the same perfume he had only ever smelled on Lu Moyu, his university instructor. He wanted to carefully lift her hand and slip out of her embrace before she woke, to avoid an awkward scene. But his slight movement seemed to stir Lu Moyu. She tightened her hold on him and mumbled softly in her sleep. "You smell nice." She clung firmly to Lin Hao, pressing her body close to his. Her face was inches from his, and Lin Hao could feel her warm breath on his cheek. The soft pressure against his arm became increasingly noticeable. What on earth happened? How did I end up sleeping alongside my instructor? No way. How did things get to this point? Lin Hao tried to recall the previous day. He only remembered eating, using his computer, then going to bed. He had not drunk alcohol and had no gaps in his memory. He glanced to the other side and spotted more people, all familiar classmates from his university year. Oddly enough, they were all girls from his class. Lin Hao looked back at Lu Moyu and gave up trying to push her away. Instead, he pondered how to wake her gently without embarrassment. As he turned his head again, he caught sight of her loose white camisole. His heart skipped a beat. Lu Moyu let out a cry and pushed Lin Hao away abruptly. Great. They had woken everyone up in the most awkward manner possible. Lu Moyu shifted uncomfortably as fragments of what had just happened drifted through her mind. Her words stumbled out. Her face flushed bright red as she adjusted her top. Instructor? Lin Hao? Where exactly are we? Asked Chen Xiaoqiao, the class monitor's assistant sitting nearby. Everyone looked around. 30 of them in total, aboard a crude wooden boat. The vessel was basic, with no sails or oars, and only a few wooden crates on board. As Lin Hao scanned his surroundings, he noticed several people with no clothing on. Some of the girls reacted quickly, stepping in front of Lin Hao to block his view. Lin Hao was not the type to stare. He understood the need for propriety. After a brief glance, he turned his back. When he turned around, he found Lu Moyu staring straight at him. Have we been kidnapped? Why are we on this wooden boat? They were out on open sea, yet there was no sign of captors anywhere. Though flustered, Lu Moyu was an adult, their instructor and head teacher. She quickly calmed down to assess the situation. Is everyone all right? Any injuries? We're all unhurt, but several girls don't have much clothing, and 2 have nothing on at all. Instructor, are we the victims of some deranged kidnapper? No clothes. Lu Moyu glanced down at herself. She was still wearing what she had worn to bed. It seemed everyone had been transported onto the boat while sleeping. Those without clothes must have been people who slept unclothed. Just then, a mechanical voice echoed across the boat. Welcome to the maritime survival game. In this game, teammates have been assigned to each vessel. Each ship carries between 30 and 50 participants. Game announcement. The first 7 days constitute the newbie protection period. Seas will remain calm, with low hazard levels. Chests of varying tiers will spawn randomly across the ocean, containing all manner of supplies. Every 1 to 3 days, the ship may dock at islands, piers, or shorelines to gather resources. Anyone who fails to return to the vessel before the deadline will be eliminated. Note, every landing location will spawn 1 high-tier chest. Chests hold materials required for progression, alongside weapons and gear. Seek high-tier chests diligently. Stay tranquil during the newbie phase. Once it ends, weather will turn volatile without warning. Extreme heat, cold snaps, swarms of marine creatures, and more. A mysterious ghostly sea fog is advancing from 10 nautical miles away. Powerful sea monsters and specters lurk within the fog. Increase ship speed immediately. Stormy waters and hidden undercurrents fill the ocean. Danger lurks everywhere. Upgrade your vessel as soon as possible and fight to survive. At the sound of the system voice, everyone fell silent, committing the rules to memory. Panic erupted soon after. Sea monsters? Ghostly fog. What do we do? This is deadly. I don't want to play this game. I want to go home. Teacher, are we going to die out here? I don't want to die. I only just turned 18. Threatened by the looming danger, everyone instinctively drew closer to those they trusted. They crowded around Lu Moyu, with Lin Hao standing nearby. Lin Hao stepped back behind Lu Moyu, letting the other students gather around her. Lu Moyu glanced at Lin Hao, then swept her gaze over the whole class. First, find spare outerwear for the two students with no clothes. Following Lu Moyu's arrangements, spare jackets were distributed, enough to cover everyone's essential areas. At that moment, Chun Xiaoqiao, the class academic committee member, suddenly spoke up. I can open a status panel. I've awakened a superpower. Guided by Chun Xiaoqiao, the others learned to bring up their own panels, Lin Hao included. Lin Hao, superpower, SSS, grade immortal angling unique. Trait 1, born fisherman, never skunked. Every cast will attract a bite. Trait 2, each cast boosts personal attributes. Attribute thresholds unlock new abilities once reached. Strength, 6.7 baseline. 5. Stamina, 7 baseline. 5. Inventory. Crafting, born fisherman. This suits me perfectly. Lin Hao loved fishing. While most university classmates spent their free time gaming, he preferred angling. Only occasionally playing computer games. Quiet by nature, he enjoyed spending long hours fishing alone. If this were a game, he was the type to grind relentlessly. As he pondered this, one girl shouted excitedly, I've awakened an S, rank power, water manipulation. I'll lead all of us. This was Gu Qingxian, their class monitor. She came from a wealthy family, achieved excellent grades, and had an outgoing personality liked by the whole class. She wore a pale blue dress with delicate lace trim, clearly an expensive garment. I've awakened an A rank power, probability foresight. I can see danger levels for possible future outcomes, said Zhang Xini, the class league branch secretary. My power is A rank lucky chest. I can summon one chest daily, and opening chests improves the quality of loot I receive. Great. Together with Xiao Qiao, 3 of us have superpowers. Our abilities complement each other well. We'll be fine. Several girls cheered happily. Meanwhile, Lu Moyu stood to one side, her expression heavy with concern. After a moment of thought, she looked toward Lin Hao, and her cheeks flushed unexpectedly. Lin Hao noticed her strange gaze. What was on her mind? Before he could ask, Zhang Xini, the league branch secretary, walked over and asked cautiously, Lin Hao, didn't you awaken a superpower? Lin Hao was the deputy league branch secretary. He was closest to Zhang Xini out of everyone in the class. I got a fishing-related power. Lin Hao spoke quietly, hoping not to draw attention. Still, Chun Xiaoqiao overheard him. A fishing power. That fits you perfectly. You can catch fish for all of us later. Fish? Where? I want fish, another girl joked. Patience, he hasn't cast a line yet. Lin Hao was surprised. No one pressed him about the power's tier, nor did they dismiss it. A small warmth settled in his chest. The cold mechanical voice boomed across the boat once more. Elect one person to serve as captain. The captain will steer the vessel and lead the group's survival efforts. Captain privileges, authority to upgrade the ship, power to expel crew members. Notice, the captain position can be replaced. A unanimous crew vote forces a leadership change. We should make the instructor our captain. Choose the monitor instead. She has an S, rank combat power. I nominate the secretary. Her foresight power lets her spot threats, making her ideal captain. I vote for Lin Hao. He's the only guy here. He can handle physical tasks we girls struggle with. The calm discussion suddenly grew tense after that remark. Gu Qingshuan's temper flared. What does gender have to do with anything? I can do every task any man can manage. Classmates, elect me captain. I, Gu Qingxian, guarantee I will get every single one of us out alive. Gu Qingxian came from a prominent family, yet she had never been spoiled. She was fiercely competitive. She fought hard for scholarships and won her student union position through her own ability. She often gave her scholarship money to less fortunate classmates and looked after every student in her class. It seemed she constantly strove to earn others' recognition. Lin Hao mulled over. The captain's privileges were limited, and steering the boat constantly would eat up all his fishing time. It was not a role he wanted. Let the monitor be captain. I trust her. I agree. We'll support her and keep everyone safe. Lu Moyu added her voice in support. Though she was their instructor, she was only 26. There was always a subtle divide between her and the students. Staying out of direct leadership felt like the safer choice, a lesson she had learned during her time as an educator. With the captain confirmed, Gu Qingxian steered the boat toward the advancing ghostly sea fog. Lin Hao settled happily at the bow and began fishing. Thanks to his born fisherman trait, every cast caught something, though the quality varied wildly. He tried rapid repeated casts, yet only reeled in ocean trash, with scraps, broken shoes, discarded toys. Not even usable plastic bottles turned up. What's more, garbage only granted a tiny 0.01 attribute boost each time. It was far more efficient to take his time catching fish, which yielded larger attribute gains. An hour later, Lin Hao had a decent haul. He carried several fish toward the stern, then froze when he looked up. Several girls were relieving themselves at the rear of the boat. It was understandable. Everyone had been holding on since waking up. He coughed lightly and looked away, respecting their privacy. The girls spotted Lin Hao approaching, flushing red and scrambling to adjust their clothing. I caught several salmon. Anyone interested in sashimi? Fish. It's a shame we don't have any knives to cut it. The boat held only a few wooden crates, containing nothing but a fishing net and a single fishing rod. A sudden cry from Chun Xiao Xiao cut through the conversation. I found one. Everyone turned to see Chun Xiao Xiao standing beside an iron chest. Chest tiers, from lowest to highest. Wooden chest, bronze chest, black iron chest, silver chest, gold chest, diamond chest, and legendary chest. The chest was roughly the size of a suitcase, tightly sealed with a lock that required no key. Chun Xiao Xiao popped it open easily. The crowd gathered around, curious about what loot lay inside. As the lid lifted, a sharp medicinal scent drifted outward. Medicine. Anti-inflammatory pills, ibuprofen, antibiotics. Chun Xiao Xiao exclaimed. The chest was packed with daily medical supplies, bandages, liniment, and even a box of unfamiliar blue tablets. What's this medicine? One girl picked up the box of strange blue pills and opened it. Those are contraceptive pills. Ah. The girl's face burned bright red, and she quickly set the box back down. The group's mood sank. Medicine was vital, yet they had no food or fresh water. Many would starve long before falling ill. What if we trade some of the medicine on the exchange interface for food and water? That's a solid plan. We can also trade Lin Hao's fish. With him fishing, we'll have a steady supply. Lin Hao listened carefully. Trade away the fish he caught? He was not selfish, but he hoped to eat his fill first before using surplus fish to help others. Using his power drained stamina, after all. But if they traded his catch and refused to share supplies with him afterward, he would not hesitate to speak up. Without consulting Lin Hao, the girls took a large portion of the medicine, including many anti-inflammatory drugs, and placed all of his fish onto a trading screen in the center of the boat. Only the captain had access to the public chat and trade channels, but Gu Qingxian had shared the permissions to keep everyone occupied. In exchange, they received over a dozen loaves of bread and more than 20 bottles of water. One girl tore open a filled bread roll and prepared to take a huge bite without asking anyone. Lin Hao moved quickly and snatched the bread from her hands. Why did you take my bread? The girl pouted. Lin Hao wasted no time and ate the bread right in front of her. Monitor. Instructor. Lin Hao stole my food. Lu Moyu was sharp. After 2 years working as an instructor, she was experienced mediating student conflicts and could easily judge right and wrong. She chose to stay silent, waiting to see how Gu Qingxian would handle it. The monitor walked over. She had been steering the boat and had not witnessed the incident. Chun Xiao Xiao quickly filled her in. We traded medicine and Lin Hao's fish for food and water. With just those 2 sentences, Gu Qingxian understood the full situation. She had watched Lin Hao fishing at the bow the whole time. Let Xiao Xiao and Lin Hao keep a portion of the supplies. We won't distribute the rest yet. We'll reach land soon. But I'm hungry, the girl whined. Hungry? Once we dock, you can search for resources to trade for food yourself. Gu Qingxian said firmly. The girl dared not argue further and waited for the upcoming landing. Lin Hao approved of Gu Qingxuan's decision. The sun blazed overhead. There was no shade on the wooden boat, and sweat soaked everyone's backs. It's sweltering. Has it been nearly an hour? Why haven't we arrived yet? My skin's gotten so much darker. I don't want to turn completely brown before anything happens. Quit talking so pessimistically. Many of them wore minimal clothing. The damp fabric clung to their bodies, outlining their figures. Lin Hao sat at the bow, fishing leisurely. He was glad he had declined the captain's position. He could enjoy angling without interruption. The ocean was nothing like lakes or rivers. Massive creatures swam beneath the waves. Small fish could lure bigger prey, and large fish attracted even greater sea life. Lin Hao had reeled in a 300-pound blue marlin, breaking his personal record. A wide grin spread across his face. Unfortunately, they still lacked cutting tools. He placed the marlin inside a wooden crate to keep it alive as long as possible, planning to butcher it once they obtained blades. Wait, is that a wooden chest? Lin Hao cast his line backward. Thanks to his unique trait, the hook veered half a meter off target, yet somehow snagged the crate. He hauled it aboard easily. The crate weighed over 50 kilograms. My attributes are rising fast. After only 2 hours, my strength hit 13, more than twice the baseline value. The wooden chest itself granted another point of strength, even more than the giant marlin. Xiao Xiao, could you open this chest for me? Lin Hao handed the crate to her. He remembered Chun Xiaoqiao's ability to improve loot quality from chests. Chun Xiaoqiao happily agreed. No one could resist opening a loot box, especially for someone else. She blew lightly on her fingertips and carefully lifted the lid. Lin Hao did not hold high hopes. From the chat channel, he knew wooden chests were the lowest tier and often contained worthless trash. The lid creaked open, and bright metallic light spilled out. Metal from a wooden chest, that counted as a rare drop. Inside were only 2 hatchets and 1 kitchen cleaver. We've got blades. Now we can cook the fish. I'm starving. I want some. Gu Qingxian walked over and did nothing to calm their excitement. Go ahead and prepare the fish. We've arrived. The system announcement sounded immediately afterward. Destination reached, Solitary Ocean Island. Docking duration, 3 hours. Looking forward from the bow, an island rose from the sea. Cinny, come here, Gu Qingxian called to Zhang Cinny. Lin Hao listened nearby. They made no effort to lower their voices. Use your foresight power. What dangers lie on this island? Gu Qingxian asked. I'll try. Zhang Cinny closed her eyes and opened her system panel mentally. Solitary Island. Threat level, 21%. Survival success rate, 52%. Casualty rate, 9%. The short message carried a great deal of information. Monitor, the island's threat level is 21%. We have a 52% chance to overcome hazards, with a 9% risk of casualties. I cannot access further details. That's all you can see. Gu Qingxian sounded disappointed. Danger was guaranteed, as the system had already warned them. It was little more than confirmation. She turned to address the whole group. We'll head ashore to gather resources. Upgrading the ship through the captain's panel will unlock cabins. Then we won't bake in direct sunlight, and we'll have shelter from sea winds at night. She brought up the captain's interface. Wooden ship upgrade requirements. Timber 0 1,000ths. Iron ingots 0 100ths. Cloth 0 50ths. The preview of the upgraded wooden vessel appeared on the panel. It would feature cabins and sails, which would drastically boost sailing speed. Right now, the boat relied solely on seawater currents, managing only 2 to 3 nautical miles per hour. Meanwhile, the eerie sea fog chased them at 10 nautical miles an hour. There are plenty of trees on the island, and we now have 2 machetes. Anyone who chooses to go ashore will be allocated rations and fresh water. Those who stay on board will continue cleaning and cutting the tuna. Lin Hao fully agreed with her plan. Supplies ought to go to those who put in the work. Still, someone needed to guard the boat. If they returned from the island to find it drifting away, they would be in serious trouble. I'm going ashore. I've got strength. I'll come too. I'll stay. I can't even swim. I'll remain on the ship as well. I'm too scared. Gu Qingxian watched their timid displays. If they could not overcome their fears, how would they survive long term? In the end, 17 people decided to head to the island, and 13 chose to stay behind. After distributing packed food and bottled water, Lin Hao anchored the boat against a rock to prevent it from running aground. 16 people jumped into the sea and swam toward land. Gu Qingxian stood atop a plank, channeling her power over seawater to glide rapidly toward the island. Why is she rushing ahead? Does she plan to deal with all dangers on the island alone? Lin Hao swam close behind her. Empowerment had pushed his physical abilities far beyond ordinary humans. As an avid angler, swimming was second nature to him. Gu Qingxian reached the shore first, with Lin Hao arriving shortly after. The island was not large, spanning roughly 1,000 mu, about the size of a university campus. Fortunately, coconut palms grew everywhere, and the shore was lined with sea creatures such as hermit crabs and scallops. Once ashore, Gu Qingxian fixed her gaze on the forest. The threat likely lurked within those trees. Do you think zombies might stumble out from there? Gu Qingxuan's sudden question caught Lin Hao off guard. Zombies? Had she read too many novels? Then again, they were trapped inside a game world. Monsters like zombies were hardly out of the question. Who can tell? We need to stay cautious. Let everyone stay near the shore to gather coconuts and catch small fish and shrimp. Gu Qingxian shook her head. She planned to finish upgrading the ship today. She had never slept exposed to the open sky, and she refused to start now. She directed the girls who had swum ashore. 5 people shared 1 machete, taking turns cutting down small trees. The rest set off to collect other materials. Gu Qingxian knew the supplies they gathered on the shore would not meet the upgrade quota. Before coming ashore, she had resolved to locate the high-tier treasure chest hidden somewhere on the island. Lin Hao got to work fishing for coconuts, literally fishing for them. Lin Hao, your aim is incredible. 13 coconuts pulled down in a minute. We'll have plenty of coconut water tonight. A crowd of girls gathered around him, catching the coconuts and chatting cheerfully. The sun blazed overhead, and the group moved busily along the shore. Coconut water was precious fresh water, far harder to obtain than fish. Once Lin Hao stowed the coconuts in his inventory, the girl stopped pressing him to hand them out. Deep within the forest undergrowth, a pair of scarlet eyes locked onto the group on the beach. The creature drooled onto the ground, swallowing hungrily. Gu Qingxian stepped forward, ready to venture into the woods in search of fresh water and treasure chests, resources that would extend their chances of survival. Just as she was about to enter the forest, a monster with a fish-like head crawled out on 4 limbs, a dorsal fin running down its back. It scuttled forward rapidly, moving much like a lizard. Gu Qingxian let out a scream and scrambled backward, overcome by fright to the point she forgot to use her elemental ability to defend herself. The fish monster was far faster than her, closing the distance in mere seconds. It leaped, aiming to pounce on Gu Qingxian. Seeing this, Lin Hao cast his fishing rod. As if guided by some supernatural force, the hook latched onto the fin on the monster's back half a meter away. Lin Hao pulled back with all his strength. The monster missed its target and crashed face first into sand. It twisted around, its crimson eyes blazing with hatred toward Lin Hao. The other girls on the beach fled in panic. A monster! Don't eat me. Everyone, run back to the boat or climb up the trees. Lu Muyu wrapped her legs around a coconut tree and climbed upward, directing her classmates from her perch. Following the teacher's advice, many girls scrambled up the trees. Those who had earlier claimed they could not climb now moved faster than monkeys, scrambling to the highest branches. Only Lin Hao and Gu Qingxian remained on the beach. Now that the monster's attention was fixed on Lin Hao, Gu Qingxian remembered her power. Unfortunately, a stretch of dry sand separated her from the ocean, and she could not draw seawater to her no matter how hard she tried. Damn it! I forgot to bring any water with me. A water manipulator without a source of water was no better off than an ordinary person. The fish monster lunged toward Lin Hao, its jaws lined with sharp fangs. A chill ran down Lin Hao's spine. He swiveled his fishing rod and swung it hard, striking the creature's hideous head squarely, much like someone playing golf. The monster staggered, swaying unsteadily on its limbs. This was no ordinary boat fishing rod. It was summoned by Lin Hao's ability, an SSS, grade rod strong enough to haul a 300-pound tuna without strain. Combined with his strength, 3 times that of a normal human, the blow left the monster dazed. Lin Hao switched weapons and drew his machete. While the rod could stun the beast, it could not deliver a killing blow. One slash from the monster's claws would leave him critically injured. The monster charged again. At that moment, a compact water projectile shot forward, piercing its torso and tearing a large hole in its chest. The creature collapsed once more. Lin Hao rushed forward and delivered the finishing strike, severing the monster's head. The instant the head hit the sand, a system notification echoed in his mind. Level 1 fish monster slain. Reward: 5 survival coins. Killing monsters earns extra rewards. This is great. He received stat boosts from catching tuna before. He wondered how much stronger this monster would make him. Strength: 21 stamina, 18. New skill unlocked. Sniper cast swing the rod with full force to launch the hook like a bullet toward targets. I finally have an offensive skill. Lin Hao had always thought anglers who used hooks attached to slingshots to catch fish were cruel, but right now, he did not care. He would use whatever worked. Gu Qingxian walked over, her cheeks flushed. Thank you. If you hadn't intervened, no problem. It was nothing. But why didn't you use your ability against the monster at first? Gu Qingxian clutched the hem of her skirt tightly. Was she truly weaker than the men here? Why wasn't Lin Hao afraid? How could he stay calm facing such a monster? Gu Qingxian gritted her teeth, overcome by frustration. She had strived relentlessly her whole life, yet always lived in her elder brother's shadow. Her parents favored him endlessly, repeatedly telling her that women only needed to learn etiquette and culture, destined for marriage, while the family business would go to her brother. She had never truly earned their recognition, and she ached for their approval. Tears welled in her eyes and streamed down her cheeks as she looked at Lin Hao. Hey, don't cry. I didn't mean to snap at you. Lin Hao was confused. Had he stolen her kill and upset her? At that moment, Zhang Xini, the class secretary, hurried over excitedly. The danger level on the island has dropped to 1%. The immediate threat is gone. The 1% risk rating did not mean another fish monster might appear. It accounted for hazards such as snakes, insects, and falling branches. Gu Qingxian turned her back to the others and quickly wiped away her tears with her sleeve. Monitor, let's go look for the treasure chest. Were you crying? It's nothing. Sand blew into my eyes. Zhang Xini chose not to press further and turned to praise Lin Hao. I didn't realize how capable you are. Lin Hao scratched the back of his neck and smiled sheepishly. I couldn't have finished it without that water projectile you fired, Monitor. Gu Qingxuan's expression turned awkward at the mention of the water shot. Trapped without seawater nearby, she had condensed a small projectile from her own saliva. She quickly changed the subject. Cinny, can you sense where the treasure chest is? Zhang Cinny nodded. Her ability was not merely simple foresight. It showed probability forecasts for future events. She pointed toward the upper right. There is an 82% chance we will find a treasure chest that way. Very well. You and Lin Hao go search for it. I will lead the others to keep gathering timber. Lin Hao agreed. He stored the fish monster's corpse and headed deep into the forest with Zhang Cinny. After walking for half an hour, they spotted the chest amid thick foliage, a bronze treasure chest. Chen Xiaoqiao's ability is really powerful. We only get a bronze chest for killing a monster, but she can summon an iron chest directly, Lin Hao remarked. That's right. Should we save it for her to open? Lin Hao shook his head. On the way here, he had discovered a stream. He had inventory space, yet no containers to carry fresh water. We open it now. We can use the chest to transport fresh water. Our water reserves are far too low. Zhang Cinny nodded. Lin Hao unlocked the chest, revealing stacks of crafting blueprints inside. Most were for kitchenware, pots, pans, and bowls. The most valuable plans were for several fish, cutting knives, suitable both for preparing seafood and self-defense. The two returned to the stream and filled the chest with water. This chest of water should sustain 30 people for 2 days. Wait, where did you go? After filling the container, Lin Hao noticed Zhang Cinny had vanished, leaving only her clothes laid beside the water. Zhang Cinny surfaced suddenly from the stream and splashed water over him. The water feels wonderful and cool. She stood in the stream in her undergarments. Why are you staring? Lin Hao had seen her in a swimsuit before. Back when the school year started, Zhang Cinny invited him out for water activities. He thought they were going fishing. He only learned she planned to swim at the beach once they arrived. She swam along the shore while Lin Hao cast his lines. Lin Hao's face heated up. Stop looking. They headed back to the beach. With just over 20 minutes remaining before they needed to depart, everyone stopped cutting timber, stored all materials in their inventories, and carried everything back to the boat. Each person possessed 10 inventory slots, and every slot could hold up to 99 units of one item. One of Lin Hao's slots was permanently occupied by his fishing rod. The rest held large quantities of timber, coconuts, and the water-filled bronze chest. The 5 survival coins existed within the system panel and required no inventory space. When the group boarded the boat, they were soaked and covered in sweat. 13 people had remained on the ship during the landing. Some wrinkled their noses at the smell of sweat. Yet once they saw the coconuts the others brought back, they approached with smiles. Ji Yu Qingxian witnessed this scene. She held strict standards for everyone, treating all people equally. Set the coconuts down. Who said you could drink them? A girl who had picked up a coconut flinched at her sharp tone. Monitor, we're dying of thirst. We've baked under the sun for 3 hours on the boat, nearly suffering heat stroke. Yes, just one coconut, please. No, these were collected through hard work. No one gets to take supplies without contributing. Put them all down. Gu Qingxian gestured, and the coconuts grew heavy, slamming onto the wooden planks. Only Lin Hao could lift them. Each coconut suddenly weighed dozens of kilograms, its water pulled downward by Gu Qingxuan's power. Another girl reached for a coconut, only to jump back when it lurched downward. She pointed angrily at Gu Qingxian. Gu Qingxian, you promised you'd keep us alive. Now you refuse to give us water. Are you trying to let us die of thirst? You broke every word you said. Lin Hao recognized the girl as Huang Tingting. He rarely interacted with her, but he remembered she always criticized others during class events without lifting a finger to help. Later, she would post heavily edited photos online and claim she was responsible for the event's success. Instead of growing angry at the insult, Gu Qingxian let out a cold laugh. I never said I would abandon you. Lin Hao, bring out the water. Lin Hao was reluctant to follow orders, but he wanted to avoid pointless conflict, so he complied. He brought forth the bronze chest full of fresh water. It crashed heavily onto the deck, rocking the wooden boat. This supply of fresh water will last all of you 2 to 3 days. When we reach the next stop, you can choose whether to go ashore, or I will continue providing only the minimum supplies needed to survive. Huang Tingting fell silent, forced to accept the arrangement. Gu Qingxian addressed everyone on board. We are a collective. Nobody can expect rewards without labor. Fear is understandable the first time danger appears, but we must learn to overcome it and support one another. Gu Qingxian continued her speech. Seeing he was not needed, Lin Hao walked toward the bow. He spread his soaked clothes over the planks to dry, then stood at the front of the ship to practice his new skill. Lin Hao leaned backward to gather strength and cast. Sniper cast. The hook shot forward, and he immediately felt a powerful tug on the rod. I've got something. It's a big one. Lin Hao fished happily when Gu Qingxian walked over. Lin Hao. Lin Hao. She tapped his shoulder, pulling him from his focus. What is it, Monitor? Lin Hao had been so absorbed in fishing he had not noticed her approach. Could you help me? I heard you have a large stock of timber. Can I borrow it to upgrade the ship? Lin Hao agreed readily. Even an experienced angler like himself disliked constant exposure to the blazing sun. Besides, he was part of the crew. Take it. Keep it. No need to pay me back. Lin Hao released the timber from his inventory. Half the bow was instantly piled high with lumber. Gu Qingshuan's mouth fell open. That's such a huge amount. The 16 girls ashore had gathered just over 700 units of timber combined, yet Lin Hao alone could provide 400. He had also spent an hour searching for the treasure chest. In total, he spent 1.5 hours collecting materials, roughly half the total work output of 16 girls working 2 hours. Naturally, the comparison was imperfect. There were only 2 machetes, one used by Lin Hao and the other shared by the rest. Thank you. Gu Qingxian turned to leave, then stepped back again. Lin Hao, would you be willing to trade fish for iron ingots and cloth? I will remember this favor. From now on, you get first pick of any valuable supplies we find. Lin Hao nodded, though the trade would not be easy out on open water. He opened the global trade channel and continued fishing while browsing offers. Just arrived at a port full of shipping containers. Nothing useful inside. Does that mean you have unlimited iron? Can you spare some? Unlimited? Not exactly. Only over 10,000 units. Hey, is that Jiahao talking? You sound awfully confident. Trade channel messages. Timber for food. 20 timber for 1 small bread. Iron for food and water. 10 iron for 1 500 milliliters water bottle plus 1 bread. Timber for cloth. 10 timber per cloth. Lin Hao messaged the person offering iron for supplies. Want to trade fish for iron? The reply came immediately. Buddy, fish are everywhere in the sea. Why can't I catch them myself? Catching fish was far harder than it sounded. Many anglers returned empty-handed every day. The girls had tried using the ship's ordinary rod earlier. Without bait or ground bait, none caught a single fish in an hour. They tried using small fish Lin Hao caught as bait afterward, yet lost every bait without a bite. If you could catch fish easily, you wouldn't be trading for food, only water. Be reasonable. 1 gene of fish for 1 unit of iron. That's a fair deal, Lin Hao wrote. 2 gene of fish per iron unit, and the fish must be safe to eat raw. Lin Hao accepted at once. He put tuna, salmon, and golden-eyed sea perch up for trade and obtained 300 units of iron in total. 600 gene of fish amounted to roughly a dozen fish, many of them massive specimens weighing over 100 gene that Lin Hao had reeled in. On the other side of the boat, the girls huddled with worried expressions. Their clothing remained soaked, and they hesitated to remove it to dry, leaving them shivering. They watched Lin Hao, who could freely take off his shirt, filled with quiet envy. It must be nice being able to remove your top whenever you want. I'm sneezing. Will we catch a cold? I never noticed how well built Lin Hao is. Lu Moyu watched his athletic frame and zoned out for a moment. I thought he was lean, but he's clearly very muscular. Zhang Sini commented beside her. Lu Moyu snapped back to reality, her face flushing. Zhang Sini giggled. Our teacher has an eye for young men. Don't tease me. Zhang Sini began peeling off her damp outerwear. Everyone, take off your wet clothes to dry. Colds can be deadly out here. Following her lead, the soaked girls removed their outer garments, and the stern became a busy space where everyone hung clothes to dry. Lin Hao felt distinctly uncomfortable. His improved physique came with heightened senses of hearing and smell. The faint scent of the girls surrounded him, making him restless. Stay calm. A fish is about to bite. Under the dark night without lights, movement proved extremely difficult for them. Fortunately, Lin Hao lent a hand, and the boat had been upgraded to level 2. Wooden boat, level 2, current speed, 8 nautical miles per hour functions, none yet. The hull hadn't changed drastically, though a boat canopy had been added, along with 3 extra sails, a toilet, and 2 storage compartments. Great, we won't have to bake in the sun tomorrow. Finally a toilet, no more makeshift business out on the open sea. Hurry inside, the night sea wind is freezing. 30 people filed into the canopy. It was far less luxurious than they'd imagined. There were only 10 windowless rooms furnished with nothing but plain wooden planks for beds, no bedding of any kind. Lin Hao first stowed the fish inside the storage compartments. These were precious supplies. He couldn't place them in his inventory system. Fish were only counted as the same material if they belonged to identical species and shared similar sizes. Moments after Lin Hao stepped away, the girls began to talk among themselves. Monitor, what are we going to do? There are only 10 rooms. I don't think 4 people can fit in one room. That's indeed a problem. Gu Qingxian looked at the other young women, struggling to work out a reasonable arrangement. No one was eager to share a room with Lin Hao. I refuse to sleep with any guy. I've never even dated anyone. I won't either. Stop arguing. Someone needs to take turns steering the boat. That means only one person needs to share a room with Lin Hao. Why not make him sleep out on the deck? He's in great shape, after all. One girl suggested casually. You can take the helm tonight then. Let's see how you handle the bitter sea wind. I'm sorry, Monitor. The girl quickly apologized, yet Gu Qingxian stood firm on her decision. I'll share a room with Lin Hao. I don't believe he'd try anything untoward with me, his instructor. Teacher, your figure is stunning. I'm worried things might get out of hand between you two. Zhang Sini eyed Lu Moyu, who possessed a graceful, curvaceous build, genuinely concerned the pair might lose self-control. Still, no one else voiced opposition. Since Lu Moyu had volunteered, Gu Qingxian agreed at once. 10 minutes later, Lin Hao walked back into the canopy. He'd finished sorting the fish long ago, but he'd overheard the plan to pair him with the beautiful instructor. He'd stepped outside to calm himself before coming in. He pretended to know nothing and asked, "Why are you all staring at me like this? Do I have something on my face?" "Nothing. Night's fallen. Everyone ought to rest. By the way, Lin Hao, you'll share a bed with the counselor." Lin Hao feigned shock before reluctantly agreeing. Lu Moyu walked over and pinched his arm lightly. "What's wrong? Afraid your teacher might bully you." The two stepped into their room. The space was cramped, tight even for just the two of them. Lin Hao lay on the wooden bed, unable to settle. It was the first time he'd shared a bed with a girl, and that girl happened to be his instructor. Lu Moyu's heart raced as well. At only 26, she'd never had a boyfriend, and this was her first time sharing a bed with a man. This should let me activate my ability. Lu Moyu had kept a secret from everyone. She too had awakened a superpower. Her ability was immensely powerful, yet highly unique. SS, rank ability, assimilation talent 1. When linked with a designated male partner, energy convergence can take place. The lower set of attributes between the two parties will be raised to match the higher one. Talent 2. After each energy convergence, the male partner receives a massive boost to all stats. Linked male partner, Lin Hao. When her ability awakened, Lin Hao had been the only man present. Lu Moyu had no choice but to bind him within the system. She sat tangled in internal conflict, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. This is so awkward. Do I really need to carry out energy convergence with him? Heat washed over Lu Moyu's body as she struggled to steady her nerves. Lin Hao suddenly sat upright, startling her so much that she covered her face. What are you doing? Her heart pounded wildly. Could it be that he'd lost his patience? This plank bed is far too hard. I need to trade for a pillow. Lin Hao opened the trading channel and exchanged a coconut for a cotton pillow. He set the pillow between them and lay back down. Teacher, use the pillow too. Resting your head on bare wood is bad for your neck. But Lu Moyu hesitated, surprised by Lin Hao's calm, upright demeanor. She had no idea Lin Hao was far more flustered than he'd been facing the sea monster earlier. She smells incredible. It's getting harder and harder to stay composed. Lin Hao took slow, deep breaths to steady himself. It was no manufactured perfume. The scent had long faded away. This was her natural bodily fragrance, unique to women. Lu Moyu also found the hard plank uncomfortable and leaned over to rest her head on the pillow. As they drew near one another, Lin Hao noticed her body was unnaturally warm. He asked with concern, "Teacher, you're burning up. Are you running a fever?" One lay flat, the other on her side. Lin Hao turned to place his palm against her forehead to check her temperature. As he shifted, their bodies brushed against each other. Seeing Lu Moyu make no move to pull away, Lin Hao carefully touched her forehead. "That's strange. Your temperature feels normal, yet you're so hot." Lu Moyu's mind swam in confusion. Could this really be happening? She murmured quietly. Whatever comes, comes. She suddenly turned and wrapped her arms around Lin Hao's neck, pressing her lips to his. "Teacher." Voices drifted through the thin wooden walls from the neighboring rooms. "It's noisy next door. What on earth are they doing?" "I agree." The creaking of wooden planks grew louder and louder. "Are they human? It's been half an hour, and they still haven't quieted down. I hope the teacher's all right. That thought of yours is dangerous." Strength, 25 stamina, 22 speed, 32 sanity, 88 max, 100. Your overall physical stats are incredible. Overall stats, a collective value encompassing strength, speed, defense, and other attributes. She sat weakly on the wooden planks, staring at her status panel in shock. She had never imagined Lin Hao's stats would be so high. Lu Moyu's strength had only been 4.2 at first, and now it had shot up to 25, nearly a six-fold increase. All her other attributes had also surged rapidly. My stats. How can you see them? Lin Hao collapsed onto the bed, breathing heavily. I'm sorry. I initiated this to activate my ability. Lu Moyu then told Lin Hao about her SS, rank assimilation ability, and its energy convergence mechanics. Teacher, did you only see me as a tool? Lin Hao felt a flicker of anger. This had been his first experience like this. It's not like that. I've admired you for a long time. You excel at every assignment I set, score well in your studies, and you're handsome. But there's always been a barrier. I am your teacher, and you are my student. Lu Moyu's face flushed bright red, sweat dripping from the ends of her hair. Lin Hao caught sight of her, and his heart stirred once more. Lu Moyu swallowed nervously. Would he want to continue the energy convergence? If you're upset, I can make it up to you. Lin Hao pulled her gently into his embrace. Make it up once. As your student, I'd accept countless chances to converge energies with you. Countless times? I won't be able to keep up. Lin Hao woke early the next morning. His enhanced stats came with vastly improved recovery. Despite yesterday's exertion, he felt completely refreshed. He opened his status panel, and what he saw stunned him. Strength, 38 stamina, 32 speed, 61. What's going on here? Lu Moyu heard Lin Hao muttering and slowly opened her eyes, stretching lazily. After he explained, she understood immediately. Oh, that's the effect of my ability's second talent. It boosts all of your attributes. Impressive, isn't it? Lu Moyu tilted her head, looking at Lin Hao like an eager young girl waiting for praise. Teacher, have you noticed how your ability works? Talent 1 aligns your stats to match mine, but Talent 2 grants me additional attributes. That means our stats fall out of alignment again afterward. Could we keep repeating this cycle to raise our stats endlessly? Lu Moyu shook her head shyly and rubbed her waist. It can't go on forever. The human body can only endure so much. Lin Hao was able to recover easily because of long, accumulated vitality, and the burden of the ability hadn't fallen on him. Lin Hao was considerate of Lu Moyu's limits and wrapped an arm around her. We can try another round of assimilation once you've recovered. The two dressed and stepped out of the room. The expressions on everyone else's faces were grim, especially the girls staying in the adjacent rooms. Zhang Sini and Gu Qingxian were among them. Instructor, the noise from your room last night kept all of us awake. Yes, you two need to be more mindful next time. Ugh, the counselor beat us to it. Zhang Sini clenched her fists, filled with frustration. Lu Moyu's face burned hot. She buried her face in her hands and shook her head. How embarrassing. Chen Xiaoqiao suddenly opened a storage crate and pulled out blue tablets. Teacher, would you like one of these pills? What am I becoming? I can't face anyone now. Lu Moyu tuned out everything around her, her mind wandering. Zhang Sini stepped forward. No need. I just checked. The chance of the teacher conceiving is only 5%. We can save the tablets. Zhang Sini put the tablets back into the crate for Chen Xiaoqiao to stow away. Your ability is amazing, League Secretary. I didn't know you could do that. Enough teasing her. If you have spare time, forge a couple of fish cutting knives. To shift everyone's attention, Lin Hao pulled out leftover iron ingots and handed over the blueprint he'd obtained from a treasure chest. You're right. We're falling behind. We need to push harder. Gu Qingxian spoke up. Are we really lagging that far? We upgraded our wooden boat on the first day, and there are 4 ability users on board. Monitor, we're doing well. The monitor pulled up the group chat panel and showed everyone screenshots and messages she'd seen the previous day. Our ship carries 40 male construction workers. We landed on an island and stripped it of all usable resources. That's nothing. Word has it the group on the container ship already upgraded their vessel to a steamship. A steamship? Where did they get the blueprints? Nobody knows. Gu Qingxian spoke earnestly. Look, the first captain to upgrade their ship received extra rewards, yet we got nothing. That already puts us at a major disadvantage. All male crews have ample manpower. They gathered massive supplies on day 1 to trade and upgrade their boats. Gu Qingxian sighed. She had always refused to think herself inferior to any man and pushed herself to match their standard. But several girls aboard refused to work independently, still unable to grasp the harsh reality of this apocalyptic ocean. Our only advantages are 3 high-tier ability users and Lin Hao's practical fishing ability. We lag far behind everyone else in every other area. Huang Tingting and her best friend stepped forward to argue. What does that have to do with us? Let others upgrade their ships. We only need to push our boat speed past 10 nautical miles to escape the strange sea fog. Why keep comparing ourselves to others? Exactly. We just need to focus on our own survival, not worry about everyone else. Lin Hao couldn't help but smile. The pair were far too naive. Gu Qingxuan's temper flared the moment she heard this. Her cheeks turned crimson with anger. Seeing this, study committee member Chen Xiaoqiao quickly held Gu Qingxian back and explained things to them. What you say sounds reasonable, but once other crews secure large stockpiles of key materials, they can monopolize trade. How will we upgrade our boat then? Don't forget that once the novice protection phase ends, extreme heat and cold waves will arrive. This simple wooden hull won't shield us. Also, most of us are women. If we encounter aggressive crews, especially ships full of men, do you really think they'll leave us alone? You're just making wild guesses. Don't assume the worst of people. Besides, we haven't spotted another ship yet. No sooner had the words left her mouth than a long, resonant horn cut through the quiet sky. A ship. Monitor, a large wooden ship is heading straight for us. Instantly, the girls reacted in all sorts of ways. Excitement, joy, fear, and panic. Friend, foe, or something else entirely. Everyone stay calm. Gu Qingxian struggled to maintain composure. She had no way of knowing the other vessel's intentions. Zhang Sini, take the helm. Stick to our current route for now, and be ready to alter course at any moment. Understood. Lin Hao, stay here. Everyone else, head into the boat canopy and do not come out. Following Gu Qingxuan's orders, the girls retreated under cover. She grabbed Chen Xiaoqiao's arm and instructed her. Watch over them. Don't let anyone step outside. I understand, Monitor. Chen Xiaoqiao nodded firmly. Soon, only Lin Hao and Gu Qingxian remained on the deck. Lin Hao silently noted how much Gu Qingxian had grown. She stayed far calmer than she had the day before. The horn grew louder as the outline of the other ship slowly came into view. It was a wooden vessel several times larger than theirs, more than 40 meters long. Rows of windows lined both sides, openings designed to hold artillery. Fortunately, no cannons were mounted. This is a level 3 wooden ship. They are a formidable force. Lin Hao rested his fishing rod over his shoulder, staring at the approaching craft. Aren't you going to grab your machete? Gu Qingxian watched Lin Hao's confident posture, confused. Lin Hao smiled faintly. He could strike accurately with his fishing line even underwater, piercing fish scales, bones and skulls despite the resistance of the sea. He doubted anyone could withstand his ranged attacks. No need. This rod is enough. On the distant larger ship, a man peered through binoculars toward Lin Hao's vessel. I saw a crowd on that ship just now. Where did everyone go? Only 3 people are visible. Boss Huang, should we move closer? The overweight Boss Huang held an even longer telescope fixed on their boat. Approach. I'm certain I didn't miss-see. There must be many young women aboard. Boss Huang licked his lips, looking confident that he held the upper hand. The 2 ships closed until only 200 meters separated them. Boss Huang waved to his men. Row faster. I can almost sense the scent of women. Boss Huang inhaled deeply, only to catch a thick stench of sweat, making him gag. His ship had been crewed entirely by men from the same construction site from the very beginning. They might have seized a chance to rise up in this new world, but Boss Huang had awakened an A-rank ability. With his knack for trade and the brute strength of his workers, he'd accumulated resources in 2 days and upgraded the boat to level 3. His crew now obeyed every order without question. A scrawny subordinate descended the stairs into the stuffy lower compartment. Dozens of shirtless men sweated profusely, their hair soaked. They chanted in unison as they pulled the wooden oars, pushing the ship forward another stretch. Boss Huang says there's another ship ahead filled with women. Row faster, and you'll get your chance. Army relayed the order. The rowing rhythm instantly quickened, and the ship gained speed. Lin Hao frowned as he watched them close in. They mean trouble. Gu Qingxian knitted her brows tightly. I hope they don't target us. If they do... The boat swayed suddenly. Lin Hao was shocked to witness the power she wielded. The ships drew nearer and finally halted 30 meters apart. Wary of the unknown strength on the opposing vessel, Boss Huang spoke first to test them. Greetings, friends. I'm Huang Yan, captain of this ship. Are you facing trouble? Why are only 3 of you out on deck? Lin Hao and Gu Qingxian exchanged a glance. Then Lin Hao called back. We don't accept unasked charity. We can handle our own troubles, so no need for your assistance. A smirk tugged at Huang Yan's mouth. Is that all you've got to fob me off? He waved his hand, and more than a dozen burly men carrying spear guns stepped out of the canopy. You don't need help, but I need supplies. Hand over 500 iron ingots and 2,000 planks, or my men will board your ship. Those are spear guns. Lin Hao's eyes widened at the sight of their weapons. What's so dangerous about spear guns? Gu Qingxian asked. As an experienced angler, Lin Hao knew exactly how lethal they were. Spear guns pack devastating power even underwater. They can pierce the scales of large sea creatures. These ones have been modified with barbs at the tip, clearly meant to hook other ships. What should we do? Do we surrender? Fear crept into Gu Qingxuan's mind, and she began weighing escape options. Surrender? We don't have anywhere near that much material. Lin Hao exhaled, his tone sharp with sarcasm. Come and try if you dare. See if I won't use my ability against you. Huang Yin grew uneasy at Lin Hao's bold defiance. Abilities were a serious threat. His own B-rank ability, Copper Skin, made him 30 times tougher than ordinary humans. He could fight 10 of his underlings at once. Only 2 people stood to negotiate, and the young man acted fearless. If pushed into a corner, he might strike recklessly, and Huang Yin stood to lose everything. Still, he would not back down easily from a few words. You think you can scare dozens of my men off with empty threats? Come closer and find out. Lin Hao gripped his fishing rod. His fishing line only reached 10 meters. It could only serve as a deterrent for the moment. The 2 sides remained locked in a standoff. Inside the canopy, I just want to crack the covering open for a quick look. Only a glance. Huang Tingting tried to push past the others. You can't. The monitor ordered no one to step outside. The study committee member blocked her path. I really will only peek. It's been so long since I've seen other survivors. Ugh, what's wrong with just looking? Are you afraid I'll leave for their ship and live a better life? Chen Xiaoqiao stood firmly against the doorway. I said no. The monitor's orders must be followed. Monitor this, monitor that. Can't you survive without her? Move out of my way. Huang Tingting shoved Chen Xiaoqiao hard, sending her tumbling to the deck. The door flew open abruptly. Combined with the rocking of the vessel, the girl standing near the doorway stumbled forward from inertia. 7 or 8 young women came into Huang Yan's sight alongside Huang Tingting. So young, all schoolgirls. Huang Yan rubbed his hands together, ran his tongue across his lips, and stared greedily at the group of girls. Lu Jun, prepare to board their ship. Seize them at all costs. Lu Jun was thin and scrawny, yet his back straightened the moment he heard the order. When Boss Huang gives an order, there's no way we'll fail. Lu Jun shouted an instruction. Several men emerged from the cabin, pushing a wooden cart carrying a massive spear gun fitted with barbed tips. What are you doing out here? Get back inside immediately. Lin Hao snapped. This was a critical moment. How could these fools choose to come out now? TCH, I just wanted to take a look. It's not like anything bad will happen. Gu Qingxian stepped forward and delivered a crisp slap, leaving a clear handprint on Huang Tingting's cheek. Tears streamed down Huang Tingting's face as she protested aggrievedly. Why should I listen to you? I just wanted to see outside. What gives you the right to hit me? Just as Gu Qingxian raised her hand to strike again, a sharp whistling sound cut through the air. A huge hook embedded itself firmly into their ship's hull. Gu Qingxian, leave her for now. They're attacking. Lin Hao shouted. 7 or 8 men on the opposite ship slid across on ropes and fired spear guns at Lin Hao mid-crossing. Lin Hao swung his fishing rod to deflect the incoming spears, then flicked the rod. Its hook shot forward like a bullet, piercing one man straight through the forehead. Hurry inside. Lu Moyu herded the girls who had stepped out into the cabin and closed the door, staying behind herself. Her physical stats were now high enough to fight, and she needed to assist Lin Hao. Gu Qingxian stood on the deck as a spear gun bolt whizzed past her, slicing off a strand of her hair. Rage burned fiercely inside her. She clenched her fists tight until her knuckles turned pale. All of you, Gu Qingxian roared. A towering column of water surged upward and crashed violently onto Huang Yan's boat. The vessel split cleanly in two and began to sink. Lin Hao twisted the neck of one enemy who had climbed aboard, staring at the scene in shock, jaw dropped. That's utterly devastating. Lin Hao watched the wooden ship sink and sighed in amazement. Was that the end of the fight? Lin Hao and Lu Moyu made quick work of the invaders who had already reached their ship, felling one with each punch. Unbeknownst to them, a stout figure clambered upward from beneath the hull. You witch, I will avenge this. A turquoise glow enveloped Huang Yan. His skin hardened like bronze, and his fingers dug firmly into the wooden planks. A revolver hung at his plump waist. He soon hauled himself onto the deck. Which die? Bang! The bullet struck Gu Qingxian squarely in the waist. Her pale blue dress was instantly soaked red. The moment the gunshot rang out, Lin Hao flicked his fishing rod. The hook tore through Huang Yan's skin and snagged his ribs. Impossible! How could a simple fishing hook pierce my skin? Huang Yan exclaimed in disbelief. He raised his pistol to shoot Lin Hao. Lin Hao roared, and reeled the rod back. The tremendous pull sent Huang Yin flying. He crashed heavily onto the planks, splitting the wood beneath his weight. Lin Hao leaped forward and drove his knee into Huang Yan's chest. Blow after blow landed on Huang Yan's face. Huang Yan's bronze, tough skin remained intact, yet his teeth shattered, his nose crooked, and his eyes swelled shut. He looked no better than a battered pig. "Stop! Don't hit me anymore. I beg you." Huang Yan forced the words out through his mangled mouth, saliva and blood pooling all over the deck. His pleas only stoked Lin Hao's fury, and his punches grew harder. Blood coated his fists as he struck repeatedly. He only halted when Huang Yan went limp, his arms falling slack at his sides. "Qingxian, are you all right?" Lu Moyu rushed over and lifted Gu Qingxian to check her injury. The good news, the bullet had missed all vital organs. The bad news, they possessed no proper medical supplies, only a handful of anti-inflammatory pills. "Chow Chow, bring the first aid kit quickly." Hearing Lu Moyu's call, Chun Chow Chow ran out of the cabin. She had heard the gunshot and prayed everyone was safe, yet misfortune had still struck. She fetched the kit at once and laid out everything usable. Bandages, gauze, painkillers. Lu Moyu tore open a bandage and attempted to stem Gu Qingxuan's bleeding, only to freeze. The wound was far too large, and blood continued to gush out relentlessly. "This won't stop the bleeding. What do we do?" Lu Moyu flustered, on the verge of tears. Lin Hao walked over and spoke softly to her. "Teacher, let me handle this." Lin Hao lifted Gu Qingxian and carried her into the cabin, turning to Chun Xiao Xiao and the other girls. "Fetch clean water, thread, and a needle. I need to remove the bullet and stitch the wound closed." Lin Hao had no experience suturing wounds, but they had no other choice. It was their last hope. He wiped the grime from his hands and fashioned 2 makeshift knives from cutlery. The bullet was lodged in the pelvic bone, trapped fast. "Monitor, I'm going to extract the bullet. Take the painkillers first." Cold sweat covered Gu Qingxuan's forehead, and her lips drained of color. She managed a faint reply. Zhang Sini fed her the pills and dabbed sweat from her face with cotton. Lin Hao picked up the makeshift knife. Though the wound was covered in blood, his hand remained perfectly steady. His years of wielding the fishing rod had built formidable arm strength and stability. Lin Hao sliced open the wound, used chopsticks to pull out the bullet, then closed the gash with fishing line. Gu Qingxian endured the entire procedure without a single cry. The ordinary painkillers offered no numbing effect whatsoever. Lin Hao looked at the monitor lying on the makeshift bed, filled with deep respect. She might not be born into wealth, but she possessed an extraordinary spirit. When the bleeding finally ceased, Zhang Sini cried out excitedly. "The bleeding stopped. The monitor is going to be all right. We should step outside and let her rest." They exited the cabin, where Lu Moyu and the others waited anxiously. "Is Qingxian okay? She'll survive." Lin Hao spotted several bound men kneeling on the deck and asked, "Did you capture these people?" Lu Moyu nodded shyly. While Lin Hao tended to Gu Qingxian inside the cabin, she had not been idle. She had subdued the remaining attackers and salvaged plenty of supplies from the sunken ship. Lin Hao walked forward. 9 men knelt before him. "Spare us. It was all Huang Yan's doing. He forced us. We never wanted to rob your ship. Yes, blame Huang Yan. Spare our lives, and we'll hand over all our supplies. We'll work for you however you want." Lin Hao picked up Huang Yan's revolver and swept his gaze over them. The 9 men bowed their heads in terror, afraid to meet his eyes. They had watched Lin Hao beat Huang Yan to death. Lin Hao spotted the scrawny figure among them, the man who had overseen the spear guns. "You're Huang Yan's so-called strategist?" At those words, Lu Jun's legs buckled, and he slammed his head against the wooden planks. "I'm innocent. I'm no strategist. Huang Yan forced us. He used to be a contractor who refused to pay wages. After gaining superpowers, he grew even crueler. He forced villagers to row his boat and raided other vessels everywhere. He deserved to die. We had no choice." "Innocent." Lin Hao let out a cold laugh. He had seen their vicious faces clearly. Each of them had slid across the ropes, firing spear guns without hesitation. Lu Jun in particular struck him as ruthless, the type to stab others in the back when they least expected it. If Gu Qingxian hadn't destroyed their ship, countless female students might have lost their lives. "Then I'll send you to join him." Lin Hao pulled the trigger, executing them one by one starting from the first man. Body after body collapsed. Blood pooled at Lu Jun's feet, and he lost control of his bladder in terror. "Don't kill me. I have an ability. I can build weapons. I made that revolver." Lin Hao reloaded the pistol and looked at Lu Jun with mild curiosity. The bullets had been picked up from the deck after Lu Jun dropped them from his storage space. "You can craft guns? Show me." Lin Hao gestured, and Lu Moyu untied Lu Jun's restraints. Lu Jun scrambled to gather the scattered bullets. His ability was merely grade D. He could not forge weapons out of thin air. He functioned like a walking set of weapon blueprints and nothing more. Lin Hao pressed the muzzle against Lu Jun's forehead. Why are you collecting bullets? Terrified, Lu Jun dropped bullets everywhere. I need metal to build weapons. So you're nothing more than a walking blueprint? But I can. Before he could finish, a gunshot rang out. The bullet tore through his skull. After killing all 9 men, Lin Hao walked over to Huang Tingting. She had stood frozen in place throughout the battle. I didn't mean for any of this. Truly, I didn't. Lin Hao let out a bitter laugh. The monitor was too merciful. If she'd cast you off the ship back then, none of this would have happened. Panic flooded Huang Tingting at the mention of being exiled. Out on the open sea, being thrown overboard meant certain death. You can't do that. You have no authority to banish me. You're not the captain. Huang Tingting grew more agitated, slipping into hysteria. That's right. Only the monitor can make that call. I'll beg her. She won't abandon me. She charged toward the cabin, only to meet a bullet. Huang Tingting died right there on the ship. The girls stared in shock. All those killed previously had been attackers bent on harming them, and their deaths had only filled everyone with disgust. But Huang Tingting was their classmate. Some had shared meals and living quarters with her. To watch her die before their eyes shook them deeply. Her best friend was the most terrified of all and fainted from shock. Lin Hao, this, teacher, she brought this upon herself. Don't grieve for her. Lu Moyu understood that it had been necessary, yet she struggled to calm her conscience. Still, she had Lin Hao by her side. Lin Hao surfaced from the ocean, dragging a large chest with him. Catch! The chest landed atop a fishing net, and the girls hauled it onto the deck. Lin Hao retrieved stacks of lumber and iron ingots from his storage space before diving back under the waves. That ship of Huang Yan's was packed with goods. He repeated the dive multiple times, stripping the sunken vessel completely, and gathering massive quantities of materials. Huff, I'm exhausted. Lin Hao collapsed onto the deck. It was the longest stretch of underwater work he had ever endured. His improved stamina was the only reason he hadn't collapsed long ago. Zhang Xini trotted over, beaming. Lin Hao, we gained over 2,000 units of lumber, more than 500 units of iron, 24 spear guns, the revolver, and dozens of blades. We also found 2 blueprints for an induction cooker and a refrigerator. Unfortunately, all food and fresh water spoiled. He nodded. Those losses were trivial for now. Lin Hao pulled a glowing orb out of his storage space. It had fallen free as he dismantled the sunken hull, and he had no idea what it was. He opened the captain's system panel to check its properties. Detected grade 3 wooden vessel core, maybe exchanged for 200 survival coins, or used to attempt unlocking a superpower for 1 crew member. A grade 3 wooden vessel core? Could this be the core of Huang Yan's ship? Lin Hao did not dwell on the question. 200 survival coins were a substantial sum. Still, the chance to unlock a superpower outweighed coins. No amount of currency could buy an ability. But who should receive the chance? This required careful thought. Tell everyone to pack up. We set sail again soon. Zhang Xini nodded and left to pass on the order. A sudden shriek echoed from the cabin. Wow, is this real? That's incredible, study rep. I can't believe it. Does this mean we're going to thrive? Lin Hao frowned at the commotion inside. Gu Qingxian was resting in there, and all this noise disturbed her. Keep your voices down. Can't you let the patient rest? The girls did not take offense. Instead, Chen Xiaoqiao held up a blueprint for Lin Hao to see. Ta-da, guess what this is? Lin Hao examined the blueprint, barely able to contain his excitement. It was a blueprint for a water purifier, one capable of running on both solar and electric power. You unlock this, study rep? That's amazing. Lin Hao praised sincerely. We can produce endless purified water to trade for materials, then build more purifiers. We'll have a steady stream of resources. Let's not celebrate too soon. Build the first unit and test its performance first. The bloody battle they had endured weighed heavy on everyone's hearts. Good news was exactly what they needed to lift their spirits. This blueprint was a blessing. Lin Hao tallied their supplies. More than 2,200 units of lumber, 554 units of iron. Their fresh water would last only 1 more day, yet food remained plentiful. Lin Hao allocated part of the materials to Chen Xiaoqiao to construct the purifier. The rest would go toward upgrading their ship. With these resources, upgrading the vessel was the logical next step. Their current wooden ship was cramped. The deck barely held a few crates of fish, leaving no room to store all their newly acquired supplies. Materials lay scattered across the deck, blocking movement and at risk of being swept overboard by wind. Lin Hao opened the captain panel and spent 1,500 lumber, and 300 iron to upgrade the ship. Vessel, grade 3 wooden ship, captain, Gu Qingxian, crew, 28. The ship expanded outward. The single deck gained a second level. Its length stretched from 30 meters to 40. The cabin grew far roomier, and a lower deck became available for living quarters. No longer would all the girls cram into one cabin, 3 people to a tiny room. Lin Hao carried Gu Qingxian down to the lower deck, away from the noise upstairs, so she could recover undisturbed. The space was dim, yet peaceful enough for rest. He traded lumber for a proper bed complete with mattress, bedding, and pillows. It was a far cry from the bare planks Lin Hao had slept on the previous night. Just thinking about slamming his back against the wooden wall hundreds of times with Lu Moyu made his muscles ache. Isn't this too extravagant? Gu Qingxian felt uneasy seeing Lin Hao spend so many resources on her. It's not extravagant at all. Anything is worth it if you recover. Lin Hao knew exactly how powerful Gu Qingxian was. In one-on-one combat, she could not match him, yet when clearing hordes of enemies, her water ability outshone his fishing rod by miles. His words struck Gu Qingxian as oddly intimate. Could he mean something more? Impossible. He was close to Teacher Lu. But the old world's rules no longer applied here. Gu Qingxian shook her head. Stop overthinking. He only wants to help me survive. Lin Hao covered her with the blanket and told her about the vessel core and the purifier blueprint. Xiao Xiao did wonderfully. This purifier changes everything for us. Gu Qingxian tried to sit up in excitement, triggering her wound. She gasped sharply in pain. Lin Hao quickly supported her back. Don't strain yourself. Who do you think we should choose to awaken a superpower? Liang Cixi. Lin Hao had a clear impression of her from the previous day. She stood roughly 150 centimeters tall, cute and youthful with twin ponytails, looking lively and playful. She had also been one of the first to dive into the ocean with the monitor and climb trees to gather coconuts. Very well, we'll choose her. After reaching an agreement, Lin Hao left Gu Qingxian to rest quietly. Lin Hao gathered all the girls and shared their plan. We're getting another superpower user? That's fantastic. Hopefully a healer. Then the monitor's injury can heal quickly. Please let it be a healer. Some cheered, while others looked dejected. After all, they were not the ones chosen for the chance. Lin Hao cleared his throat to quiet everyone. Calm down. Don't get ahead of yourselves. Success is only probable. Secretary, what are the odds of activation? 15%. Such low chances. Lin Hao stared at the glowing core. Was the success rate low because the core's tier was insufficient? Should he go through with this? Trading it for survival coins was tempting if the chance was slim. Still, he could not dash everyone's hopes. Lin Hao submitted the core to the captain system. Grade 3 wooden vessel core activated. Attempting superpower awakening. Superpower awakening successful. It worked on the first try? Lin Hao stared in surprise and called out quickly. Liang Cixi, check your personal panel. Did you gain a superpower? Liang Cixi blinked, caught off guard, and opened her panel instinctively. It worked. The moment she processed what had happened, she jumped for joy. Yes, I have an ability too. Her twin ponytails bounced upward as she hopped, barely reaching Lin Hao's height. What power is it? Is it healing? Someone asked eagerly. Let me check. Grade C ability, Energy Barrier. Consume stamina to generate a translucent energy shield. Shield durability depends on constitution, and duration depends on remaining stamina. As soon as she finished speaking, Liang Cixi activated her power. A transparent barrier wrapped around her body. Incredible. It's not the healing ability we hoped for, but it fills our need for defense. Liang Cixi beamed under everyone's praise. Lin Hao pondered how sturdy the energy barrier truly was. He reached out to touch it, but Liang Cixi retracted the shield just before his fingers made contact. His hand closed on empty air. The sensation was soft yet smooth, like pressing against a firm cushion. Deputy Secretary, you startled me. Lin Hao quickly pulled his hand back and explained awkwardly. I just wanted to test how strong the energy barrier was. I didn't mean to take advantage of you. Standing beside him, Lu Moyu secretly pinched Lin Hao's arm. All right, it's pure luck that we managed to awaken this ability. If we ever get hold of more cores, I'll let the hardest, working, most dedicated members who contribute the most to the group awaken powers next. Lin Hao felt a twinge of guilt hearing his own words. He never imagined he'd end up making empty promises one day. He headed back to the bow of the ship. With Gu Qingxian ill, he took over steering. Opening the captain's interface, he saw their vessel was nothing more than a tiny black speck traveling through endless darkness. Some distance behind the red marker on the chart, a crimson fog spread across the sea. Is this what Gu Qingxian saw yesterday on the nautical map? The sight sent a chill down Lin Hao's spine. They were unbelievably small, like a lone leaf adrift on the ocean. Still, things were gradually improving for them. Once the sun reached its zenith, Lin Hao retreated under the ship's awning. It's far too hot out there. I can't stand it. Come over, I'll fan you. Lu Moyu patted the empty spot beside her, gesturing for Lin Hao to sit down. Lin Hao took the seat without hesitation. You two are really putting your affection on display, Chen Xiaoqiao said with envy. Zhang Xini gritted her teeth and turned her gaze toward the screen. The young women were compiling trading intelligence. If they planned to use water purifiers to open up trade opportunities, reliable information was essential. How's the data collection coming along? Lin Hao asked, leaning comfortably against Lu Moyu. Only one other ship is selling water purifiers right now, and their models run solely on electricity. Fresh water remains highly sought after. A 500 milliliter bottle can be exchanged for 3 portions of lumber and 1 portion of iron ingots. It was hardly surprising that fresh water was in such demand. Every time they docked, they could acquire plenty of food and water, yet their consumption was equally high. There were 29 people aboard. Under the scorching sun, each person drank roughly 1 liter of water daily. Even when rationing strictly, food supplies were adequate for now, though the selection was monotonous. How efficient are our solar-powered water purifiers? Lin Hao asked. Chen Xiaoqiao looked embarrassed. Slow. Less than 500 milliliters per hour. We also have to replace the water manually, otherwise salt crystals clog the intake. There were approximately 13.4 hours of daylight each day, with only 8 to 9 hours of effective sunlight. That meant a single purifier could produce less than 5 liters of clean water at maximum output every day. It barely covered their own consumption. That left only one option: sell the purifiers to earn profits. We'll sell the purifiers directly, priced at 5 times the cost of raw materials. 5 times? Isn't that excessive? It's not. Our purifiers run entirely on solar energy instead of electricity. Fill them once, and they keep working continuously, with strong purification efficiency. Lin Hao had no fear of being exposed. Every word he said was the truth. But, that's settled. Lin Hao stood up and returned to the bow. An hour passed, and a green dot appeared on the nautical chart. Is that the station? The system notification sounded at that moment. Approaching docking station. Station ahead. Seaside town. Docking duration, 5 hours. A town. There ought to be abundant supplies, Lin Hao thought to himself. He hurried back to inform everyone of their upcoming stop. We need a large group to head ashore this time. This is a town. We'll ransack convenience stores, cafeterias, and supermarkets. The women hesitated. Memories of the fish monster were still fresh, and they feared another attack. Lin Hao shared their concerns. Last time, they had only defeated the creature thanks to the monitor's help. He turned to Zhang Xini. Can you predict the danger level here? Zhang Xini nodded, closing her eyes briefly to concentrate. Danger level, 27%. 8% chance of injury. Mortality risk, 1%. You hear that? The mortality rate is extremely low. This place is relatively safe. But what if? Lin Hao cut her off sharply. But what? Do you expect me to support all of you without lifting a finger? What use are you then? Grab your spear guns, everyone. We're going ashore. I won't coddle you the way the monitor did. I wouldn't mind losing 1 or 2 people on this ship. Seeing how furious Lin Hao was, Lu Moyu quickly intervened. Calm down. They just lack the courage to take that first step. I'll lead them ashore and help them overcome their fears. Right, we'll pull ourselves together. They had no other choice. Refusing would only invite Lin Hao's anger. Soon the ship reached its destination, an island. Instead of dense forest, the land was covered with modern buildings, just like a town on the mainland. Lin Hao moored at the pier. 27 people disembarked. Only Chen Xiaoqiao stayed behind to care for Gu Qingxian. The rest either possessed special abilities or Lin Hao wanted to keep them under his watch on land. Once ashore, they spotted a town map on the pier. Roads branched outward like twigs, stretching from the dock toward the town center. Lin Hao scanned the map. For scavenging supplies, only 3 routes were worthwhile. One led to a large supermarket, another to a major clothing store, and the third to a gas station. Along these roads lay countless restaurants and convenience stores waiting to be searched. Lin Hao traced the 3 paths on the map and issued instructions. We'll split 27 people into 3 teams. Lu Moyu, you lead one group down the right path. Zhang Xini and Liang Cixi will take the middle route. I'll lead the final team along the left road. Lin Hao pulled out a pistol and handed it to Zhang Xini. Your team has the weakest firepower. Take this gun for self-defense. If trouble erupts, flee toward either side to find me or Lu Moyu for backup. Zhang Xini nodded solemnly. The 3 teams separated immediately, each heading toward their assigned route. Zhang Sini's group entered a supermarket. She kept the pistol raised vigilantly. Staring at the weapon, she fell into a brief daze. He does care about my safety. He assigned someone with defensive powers to guard me, and gave me a gun for protection. But how did Teacher Lu grow so powerful all of a sudden? Could it be? Lu Mayu had no combat capability yesterday, yet she could tear apart enemies with her bare hands this morning. The change was staggering. What are the odds her sharp increase in strength is connected to what happened between them last night? A value flashed on her system panel, shocking her. 100% Zhang Sini suddenly understood. So that was it. Lin Hao must have awakened some kind of ability that empowers others through close contact. That was definitely the truth. She secretly resolved to win Lin Hao over. No one else could learn of the secret. She needed to grow stronger. Only personal power could guarantee survival in this apocalyptic world. A hand tapped Zhang Sini's shoulder. Zhang Sini, what are you daydreaming about? Zhang Sini's face flushed, as if her private thoughts had been laid bare. Oh, I wasn't zoning out. Let's hurry and gather supplies. She rushed toward the shelves to pack snacks into bags. Liang Cixi watched her flustered reaction and smiled faintly. You're still denying it. Your face is bright red. Were you thinking about being alone with the deputy group leader? Lin Hao chose the route leading to the gas station. Gasoline might not be necessary right now, but it would become an invaluable commodity in the future. He brought 8 others along because there would be far too many supplies for one person to carry. He needed their backpack storage space. We've arrived. The journey had been quiet, yet the silence made Lin Hao increasingly uneasy. Zhang Sini's prediction had warned of significant risk. Enemies were nearby, hiding out of sight, which was far more unsettling. You two, go inside and check for threats. Don't be afraid. I'm right here. Grab your weapons. Fire the moment you spot an enemy. The rest of us 7 will cover you from outside. With Lin Hao's assurance, the 2 girls dared not argue further. They held spear guns raised. One pushed open the door while the other aimed, slipping sideways into the building. They scanned the empty room. No enemies were visible. Lin Hao watched from outside, impressed by their cautious approach. The door creaked. Everyone's hearts skipped a beat. Abruptly, a humanoid figure charged out from the back room, stumbling toward them in a mad rush. Fire! Lin Hao shouted a warning. But the 2 girls screamed, dropped their weapons, and sprinted outside. Lin Hao sighed helplessly and swung his fishing rod. The hook slammed into the creature's chest. Its body crumpled like paper, yet it continued advancing ferociously. Lin Hao reeled in the line and struck again, targeting its legs. The creature made no attempt to dodge. Even after its legs shattered, it dragged itself forward toward him. Is this a zombie? The zombie crawled slowly. Lin Hao guided it out into the open. The 8 young women got a clear look at the monster and huddled together, screaming. What is that hideous creature? Maybe we should head back. Several of them edged backward. Stop. Lin Hao pointed at the 2 girls who had abandoned their spear guns. Go retrieve your weapons inside. The 2 shook their heads frantically, unwilling to step foot back in the building. A ruthless idea crossed Lin Hao's mind. He hooked the zombie with his line and yanked hard, flinging the monster straight toward them. They scattered, yet none found the courage to shoot. If none of you kill this zombie within 10 minutes, I'll drag it onto your bunks back on the ship. Lin Hao's threat pushed one girl to tears, and soon others joined her. You can cry all you want. The clock is still ticking. Fetch your guns now. Terrified by his ultimatum, the 2 girls ran back into the gas station weeping and retrieved their spear guns. Take turns shooting the zombie. Lin Hao directed them to form a circle around the creature. The spear guns were attached to lines connected to the handles, so they could be reused without waste. At first, the 8 remained terrified, but after several shots, their fear gradually faded. Lin Hao, I think I took it down. One girl called out to him. Any rewards? Yes, I got a survival coin. Only one. Defeating the fish monster had yielded 5 coins. This zombie was barely worth the effort. Then again, the zombie's combat strength paled in comparison to the sea creature. Stop shooting. Let's scavenge supplies together. Remember this. The next time you encounter a zombie, raise your weapons. The 8 nodded, visibly relieved, and hurried toward the gas station. Unlike supermarkets or convenience stores stocked with diverse goods, the gas station held plenty of daily necessities. Toilet paper given away as promotional gifts, barrels of cooking oil, instant noodles, energy drinks, and other emergency rations. Lin Hao did not join the scavenging party. Instead, he walked over to the zombie's corpse. He kicked it onto its side, revealing a staff uniform. It was clearly a former gas station worker, something he had noticed earlier. He knelt down and searched the body, finally finding a card tucked into its belt loop. A fuel card. With this, he could draw gasoline from the pumps. Lin Hao pulled out multiple large 40-liter plastic buckets he had prepared before coming ashore. He only had 10 of them on hand. He walked to the 98-octane pump, entered an amount of 10,000, and gasoline flowed out from the nozzle. In the old world, this would have been unimaginably extravagant. After filling 7 buckets, the girls trudged outside with gloomy expressions. Lin Hao noticed their moods. Why the long faces? Most supplies inside were already looted. Only leftover odds and ends remain. It's barely enough food for 9 of us to last 3 days. Hey, Deputy Group Leader, are you collecting gasoline? There are stacks of empty fuel cans inside. Bring them out quickly. The girls headed back into the station. Minutes later, they pulled more than 100 empty fuel cans from their storage spaces. All the valuable goods were taken. No one bothered carrying these empty cans away. Lin Hao's eyes lit up at the sight. Bring them over to fill with gasoline. Each can held 20 liters, smaller than his buckets. But the 100-plus containers could hold more than 2,000 liters of fuel in total. As Lin Hao celebrated their discovery, he spotted several vehicles parked near the gas station. They were likely abandoned by drivers who had rushed here to refuel when the disaster struck, only to fail. If that were the case, some drivers might have forgotten to remove their keys. Lin Hao grabbed a filled fuel can and ran toward the parked cars. Keep filling the cans. I'll be right back. The 8 girls acknowledged him and continued pumping gasoline. Nothing here, nor this one. Lin Hao checked every vehicle along the road, all the way to the last one, yet found no keys. Seriously? Did every single driver remember to take their keys? A dozen cars remained. He prayed luck would favor him. Fortunately, he found several vehicles with keys left in the ignition further down the road. Lin Hao smashed a car window with his fist, pried open the door, and twisted the key. The tank was empty. Who can drive? Get in. He parked the vehicle a safe distance away to avoid igniting spilled gasoline. One girl ran over carrying a can of fuel. Lin Hao, where did this car come from? You'll see soon enough. Lin Hao drove her several hundred meters down the road, then sent her off to operate another recovered vehicle. With cars available, travel speed increased exponentially. The 9 people cleared out all usable supplies on the left section of the island. Why haven't we seen Lin Hao yet? Only a dozen minutes remain until docking ends. Lu Moyu fretted as she watched from the pier. The dock offered an open view, yet the route from Lin Hao's area to the ship stretched over 1,000 meters, a 10-minute walk on foot. That's strange. Lin Hao never leaves himself little spare time, Zhang Sini commented. Back in university, she and Lin Hao had worked together as group leaders, organizing events. She knew he always finished tasks ahead of schedule. He never put off work until the last moment. She had once asked him why he rushed to complete everything when there was plenty of time left. Lin Hao had replied simply that he needed extra free time. In truth, he wanted to finish early so he could go fishing. Time slipped away, and everyone on board grew increasingly anxious. No one knew what would happen once the docking window expired, but they were certain it would not be good. 6 minutes left. We won't make it. Sadness welled up in Lu Moyu, and tears glistened in her eyes. Suddenly, 2 car horns echoed, and 2 vehicles appeared within sight. Lu Moyu spotted Lin Hao and jumped up with joy. A thought crossed her mind. How would they get the cars onto the ship? She turned and shouted toward Liang Cece. Cece, use your ability to create a bridge. Liang Cece froze for a second before understanding immediately. Understood. She focused intently, stretching her hands between the ship and the shore. A barrier of energy extended from the vessel to the land. Lin Hao caught sight of Lu Moyu and Liang Cece in the distance and smiled to himself. Lu Moyu always knew what he needed. The 2 cars rolled steadily onto the bow. The moment Lin Hao stepped out, Lu Moyu ran forward and hugged him tightly. I was terrified. I thought you wouldn't make it back. I'm sorry I worried you. It won't happen again. Wow. Teacher Lu and Lin Hao make such a sweet pair. Handsome guy and beautiful woman. They look perfect together. You 2 are making the rest of us jealous. Lu Moyu blushed deeply as her students teased her. All right, let's head under the awning and tally up all our supplies. 28 people sat together, bright smiles on their faces. Lin Hao observed them and sighed silently. At last, they had shaken off the fear from that morning. In the apocalypse, nothing lifted spirits quite like discovering stockpiles of supplies. Tallying the haul came a close second. I'll start. Lu Moyu stood up and pulled piles of clothing out of her storage space. We searched multiple clothing stores and packed all the garments we found. 132 down jackets, 417 sets of women's clothing, 341 sets of men's clothing. We also recovered plenty of backpacks for carrying supplies. I'll stow them in the lower storage compartment later. Everyone can pick out suitable outfits to change into. Lin Hao felt a faint twinge of disappointment. Many of the women still lacked complete sets of proper clothing, with limited layers to shield themselves from the elements. Now everyone would have access to full wardrobes. Next, Zhang Sini rose to report. We searched the large supermarket. All food had already been looted, but we found lots of furniture, cookware, and a wide range of seasonings. Liang Sisi and I also discovered this. Zhang Sini pulled a crate out of her storage space. A bronze treasure chest spawned on the island. Well done, Zhang Sini. I'd nearly forgotten about it. Let the class monitor open it. The class monitor could not hide her excitement. She had stayed on the ship during the scavenging mission and felt disconnected from the action. Getting to open the chest gave her a chance to participate. She lifted the lid, and a strong smell of machine oil drifted out. It's a generator. A gasoline generator. Does this mean we can start using electrical equipment now? But we don't have enough gasoline to run it. Lin Hao lifted a barrel of fuel. We collected nearly 3,000 liters of gasoline at the gas station. The women gasped in shock. Gasoline is an extremely valuable resource. Having vehicles will drastically cut travel time whenever we go ashore. That remains our top priority. This had only been a small island. Their next stop might be a massive port, requiring journeys spanning kilometers on foot. Walking would drain all their energy. Lin Hao did not intend to waste gasoline on other machinery unless absolutely necessary. Besides, we have very few electrical appliances to power for the time being. We'll store all the fuel for now. Lin Hao then shared the results from his team's expedition. We scavenged 7 convenience stores, 11 restaurants, and 2 clinics. We filled 2 car trunks with food, collected over 100 bottles of drinking water, 2 crates of medicine, and 5 sacks of rice. Lin Hao had split his team into 2 vehicles, which explained how they'd managed to gather such massive supplies. They'd gotten incredibly lucky. This haul is unbelievable. You guys did amazing. Yay, no more going hungry. By the way, did you run into any zombies? Lin Hao asked. Zhang Sini replied. We did. 2 of them. Those zombies are pretty dim-witted. A single headshot took each down. They're just like the ones shown in dramas, big heads and all. Lu Moyu turned to Lin Hao. We killed 5 zombies and earned 5 survival coins. What can we use these coins for? Survival coins let you buy supplies through the trading system. More importantly, you can purchase blueprints. If we want to upgrade our wooden boat to a steamship, we need a steamship blueprint, which costs 100 survival coins. Everyone exchanged uneasy glances. 100 coins meant slaying 100 zombies. Unlike Zhang Sini and a few others who'd grown hardened, most of the women still feared facing the undead. Lin Hao offered reassurance. There's no rush. We still lack plenty of iron ingots, and we can earn coins slowly over time. Staring at the towering piles of supplies, Qin Xiaoqiao craved something to eat and spoke up. Lin Hao, how do you plan to divide all these supplies? Distribution will follow the principle of reward based on contribution. When we gather supplies as a group, this rule applies. Take today, for example. I was fetching gasoline while the rest of you scavenged goods. If everyone kept whatever they found, it would be unfair to me. Consider Liang Sisi too. She's a defensive ability user protecting all of you while you hunt for supplies. It isn't right for others to reap the benefits without shouldering the risks. If everyone rushes ahead to loot materials, who will stay back to guard the group? Of course, if someone leaves the team to scavenge alone, that's a separate matter. I won't claim any of their finds, but they won't receive shared supplies from the group either. Does everyone think this system is fair? Fair. I fully agree. Qin Xiaoqiao spoke first. She'd stayed behind to watch the boat all day, and without this rule, she would receive nothing. I agree as well. I have no objections. The rest fell silent and consented once the ability users voiced their approval. Then it settled. We'll set aside 10% of all supplies as reserves for emergencies. You'll understand what kind of emergencies we might face when the time comes. Following Lin Hao's directions, the group began sorting out the supplies, mainly food and fresh water. The task wrapped up quickly. Each person received a share, enough to sustain them for 2 to 3 days, and smiles spread across their faces. Lin, how about we celebrate tonight? Qin Xiaoqiao suggested. Great idea. We've had such a fruitful day, we deserve it. Celebration. Celebration. Others quickly echoed her. Lin Hao thought for a moment. Very well, let's celebrate our successful scavenging trip. Who knows how to cook? Prepare the fish and steam the lobsters. The rest of you tidy up all the supplies. Joy filled the whole group. Lin Hao kept busy as well, heading out to catch several more large fish. Australian lobsters, squid, salmon. He hauled in loads of seafood. There's something strange about this sea. How can so many different species turn up on my line? But they had already crossed into this apocalyptic world. A few oddities hardly mattered. He opened his captain panel and traded some fish for vegetables through the system. Lin Hao normally conserved gasoline, but he made an exception today, burning fuel to power an induction cooker. Hot pot's ready. Watch out, it's boiling. This fish tastes incredible, far better raw. The broth smells wonderful. Lin Hao picked up a portion of fish and placed it on Lu Moyu's plate. Teacher, eat more. Lu Moyu's cheeks flushed, and she lowered her head to eat. Halfway through the meal, something slipped his mind. Wait, the class monitor. Lin Hao quickly filled a bowl with food and hurried down to the lower deck to find Gu Qingxian. Gu Qingxian was still asleep. Monitor, dinner's here. Gu Qingxian blinked awake, catching the aroma drifting from the bowl and swallowing hard. Why are we having such a feast today? Eat first, and I'll tell you everything that happened this afternoon. Lin Hao recounted the day's events to her. No one but you could convince the others to go ashore and scavenge like that. Gu Qingxian admired Lin Hao's calm resolve and decisive spirit. She knew she could never match him in those aspects. Focus on recovering from your injuries, monitor. Once you're healed, we'll sail the open seas together. Gu Qingxian smiled, bright as a blooming flower. Lin Hao left the lower deck and returned to the shelter on deck. Rain pattered against the wooden planks overhead. Is it raining? This was excellent news. Lin Hao pulled out the bronze treasure chest to collect rainwater, then headed back inside. It's pouring outside. You can all take showers now. Rain. The women gasped. Rainfall out on the open ocean was as precious as rain in the desert. Lin Hao, let's take a shower together. Lu Moyu walked over and whispered beside his ear. Lin Hao's heart lifted. The second-tier boat came equipped with a bathroom, yet it had remained unusable. They lacked fresh water, shampoo, and body wash before now. With rainwater available, they could finally wash up. Lin Hao and Lu Moyu spent more than 10 minutes bathing before returning to their room. What were they rushing off for? I wonder. Teacher, don't forget to take your blue pill. Chen Xiaoqiao called out. Lin Hao drew close to Lu Moyu. You smell lovely. Come closer if you like. Lu Moyu leaned against the wall. Lin Hao propped one hand against the wood and rested the other on her waist. Rain beat steadily outside, shifting between light drizzle and thunderous showers. The two chatted quietly, resting side by side. Those two sure are noisy. How are we supposed to sleep? I can't stand it. It's louder than renovations back home. I'm moving down to the lower deck. I'll come too. Aren't you joining us, Cindy? Huh? Oh, it's fine. I was nearly asleep anyway. All right, we're leaving then. Zhang Cindy leaned against the wall separating her room from Lin Hao's. Her breathing grew heavier as she listened to the faint voices next door. The humid air soaked her clothes. The heavy rain lasted all night, and winds intensified. The boat pitched and rocked violently. Everyone woke well before 6 in the morning. Ugh, kept awake all night, and now this storm shakes us out of bed. I thought the commotion from next door was rocking the boat, not the storm. Lin Hao stirred awake, Lu Moyu tucked safely in his arms. Storm's hitting hard. He stretched and noticed Lu Moyu was still fast asleep. They'd stayed up late talking the night before. She's sleeping soundly. I'll let her rest a little longer. Lin Hao stepped carefully outside and saw several women yawning. Everyone looks exhausted. You have the nerve to say that? We barely got any rest listening to you, and Teacher Lu talk all night. Chen Xiaoqiao chided. Lin Hao scratched his head awkwardly. At 18, surrounded by such companions, his enhanced physique from his abilities was the only thing keeping him grounded. I need to upgrade the wooden boat soon. The sound insulation is terrible. Where's the group secretary? Chen Xiaoqiao asked. The woman who shared a room with Zhang Cindy replied. She stayed in the room next to Lin Hao last night. She's probably too tired to wake up. I'll go get her. We need her to make predictions. Lin Hao walked toward the cabins. As he pushed open Zhang Cindy's door, a strange faint scent drifted toward him. Zhang Cindy sat on the floor, leaning against the wooden wall dividing her room from Lin Hao's, looking utterly worn out. She slowly opened her eyes when the door creaked. Spotting Lin Hao, she calmly adjusted her skirt, her face flushing. Could you keep this between us? Lin Hao processed the scene and turned his back to her. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to barge in. I'll leave right away. He closed the door and added, I won't tell anyone. This stays our secret. She must have stayed awake listening to the conversation next door. Could she also admire Teacher Lu? It wouldn't surprise me. Teacher Lu is gentle and attractive. Plenty of women feel that way. But now I've unexpectedly gained a rival. Should I tell Lu Moyu? No, best avoid unnecessary trouble. I'll pretend I never saw anything. Lin Hao returned to the meeting room. When the others saw him arrive alone, they asked, Where's the secretary? Still asleep? She's up. She'll be here shortly. Everyone waited in the meeting room for several minutes and finished breakfast while they waited. Liang Sisi could not contain her curiosity. Lin Hao, why are we waiting for Zhang Cindy? Lin Hao looked out at all the curious faces and explained. We won't encounter any supply stations today, so we can't gather goods on land. Today marks the final day of the newcomer period. Hardship awaits us from tomorrow onward. We cannot waste a single day. Lin Hao had checked his captain's system panel first thing in the morning. No supply stations lay along their current route. If they wanted more supplies today, trading was their only option. The system warned on day one that extreme weather such as cold snaps and heat waves would arrive eventually. I want Zhang Sini to predict which disaster will strike first. If we stock up ahead of time, we can profit greatly by trading supplies using this information advantage. Put plainly, they plan to capitalize on others' ignorance. Yet such opportunities carried immense risk. A wrong prediction could lead to catastrophic losses, and in this world, heavy losses often meant death. What's more, Zhang Sini's predictions were never 100% accurate. The risk remained substantial. Moments later, Zhang Sini emerged wearing lightweight summer clothes, a low-cut t-shirt and denim shorts, a look that was playful yet charming. Her figure was well proportioned. She looked softer than the petite Chen Xiaoqiao, curvier than youthful Liang Sisi, and sweeter than the mature Lu Moyu. Lin Hao could still detect that faint odd scent. Only those with enhanced physical senses like himself and Lu Moyu could pick it up. You look lovely today, secretary, someone commented. Zhang Sini answered nervously. It was sweltering yesterday. I sweated a lot, so I changed into fresh clothes. Is that just sweat? Lu Moyu pushed the thought aside. It clashed with her impression of obedient, well-behaved Zhang Sini. Still, anyone could feel restless in such stressful circumstances. Does she spend all her time alone? Could she develop feelings for Lin Hao too? Lu Moyu shook off her wandering thoughts and realized the meeting had already been underway for minutes. There is a 43% chance the first disaster will be a cold snap, 38% for a heat wave, and 19% for other catastrophes, Zhang Sini stated. So it will most likely be freezing temperatures or extreme heat. But which one? Lin Hao muttered to himself. We have down jackets ready for cold snaps, and water purifiers and temperature, adjustable air conditioners to endure heat waves. We can survive either scenario, Chen Xiaoqiao analyzed. The question is how we profit from this information gap. If a cold snap hits, we stock thermal supplies like down jackets and coal stoves. If it's a heat wave, we hoard cooling equipment such as air conditioners, ice makers, and fans. Which goods should we prioritize? Zhang Sini asked. The risk is huge if we guess wrong. Down jackets are useless in extreme heat, and fans won't help anyone during a freeze. We can't afford to waste resources stocking air conditioners either. Liang Sisi twisted her braids. All eyes turned toward Lin Hao, waiting for his plan. Lin Hao pointed toward two women. Su Xinxin and Li Muzi, start reviewing chat logs. Track any ships buying large quantities of items like down jackets. He chose them because they were reliable and thorough. The pair were stunned by the sudden order, then recovered after a few seconds. They grabbed paper and pens and began compiling data in the corner. Lin Hao elaborated. We can't confirm which disaster is coming, but others might already know. Someone could have awakened a weather forecasting ability. If such a person exists, they will definitely stockpile goods to trade for massive gains. His reasoning convinced everyone. They all opened their captain panels to scroll through public chat logs. Elsewhere, aboard a second-tier wooden boat, a woman with wire-rimmed glasses and a low-cut blazer slouched casually while watching the trading channel. Foolish people. Keep stockpiling. Buy as much as you can. Xia Wanan laughed, her tone seductive. A knock sounded at the door, followed by a gentle voice. Sister, another vessel wants to negotiate a large-scale trade. Come in. Xia Wanan replied with natural authority, even speaking to her younger sister, Xia Xinen. What exactly do they want? What goods are they offering, and what do they intend to buy from us? They want to trade live fish for down jackets, for 1,000 kilograms worth. They said this is only a preliminary deal and want to test our sincerity. Meanwhile, Lin Hao stood out in the rain, casting his fishing line to gather trade goods. For 1,000 kilograms is just a small transaction? Interesting. Xia Wanan possessed a weather prediction ability. She had known it would rain on the third day, and the first major disaster would be a heat wave. She spread false rumors claiming a brutal cold snap was imminent and continuously purchased down jackets, driving their market price skyward. Prices of other supplies dipped slightly as a result. Small as the shift seemed, it saved her a fortune given the volume of goods she planned to hoard. No one else competed with her for critical supplies. Her group publicly spread the cold snap rumor while anonymously purchasing fresh water and cooling gear in small, separate batches. Half of her crew had barely left the boat for 3 days, haggling nonstop on the trading channel to prepare for the windfall they anticipated once the disaster arrived. They know we are buying down jackets, yet they come to purchase them from us. What are they thinking? Xiao Wanan pushed up her glasses and wiped sweat from her forehead with a handkerchief. Did they post a buy order on the public channel? No, public trade postings were visible to everyone. A buyer like Lin Hao would avoid leaving public traces. Could this be some fool tricked by my rumors? Xiao Wanan could not puzzle it out. Who would buy down jackets from someone actively hoarding them? Still unable to understand Lin Hao's motives, she gave her order. Accept the trade, but raise the price higher than the current market rate. Xia Xianan nodded and stepped out. I hope you are not a clever opponent, Xiao Wanan murmured as she watched the rapidly scrolling chat channel. Will it be a cold snap? Any ladies from Korea out there? Are you insane? Even if you stay warm, freezing temperatures are deadly. I can't believe this. A thin-down jacket already costs 20 bottles of fresh water. How are we supposed to survive? When the cold snap arrives, prices will climb even higher. Stock up while you can. Is this information reliable? We risked all our supplies betting on this prediction. People are losing their minds, gambling everything on guesswork. Anyone selling cheap blankets or coal stoves? Trading fresh water for food. None of the boats had names. Each account only displayed a photo of its vessel. Li Muzi and Lu Ying sorted through countless vessel photos to match identities and track trading histories. They quickly identified Xiao Wanan's ship. On the first day, her crew had bought large quantities of empty bottles while claiming they held no value. The next day, they spread news of an incoming cold snap, claiming they'd found a radio inside a treasure chest capable of forecasting weather. Panic buying for thermal supplies erupted immediately. Xiao Wanan's vessel continuously listed down jackets and heating gear for sale, convincing more survivors to believe the false forecast. After cross-referencing records, Li Muzi and Lu Ying found another ship trading goods matching those Xiao Wanan had previously purchased. That was when Lin Hao made his probing offer. If they agree to this trade, what does that tell us? What if they refuse? Chen Xiaoqiao asked in confusion. It's simple, Zhang Xini explained. If they accept our offer now, they must need large volumes of other supplies and don't plan to keep those down jackets. That proves their cold snap warning is fake. They replied. They're only willing to trade 100 down jackets. Li Muzi cut in. Lin Hao leaned against the table, dressed only in shorts, rainwater dripping from his hair. Lu Moyu stood behind him, drying his shoulders with a towel. Be careful not to catch a chill. Lin Hao smiled confidently. Looks like the bait has taken. We have more than fish. Boston lobsters, Australian lobsters, pufferfish, salmon. We want 120 jackets. Lin Hao's tactic was far more than just listing seafood. He exploited inventory limits. Each survivor only possessed 10 storage slots, which could not hold mixed types of seafood. If a cold snap loomed, low temperatures would preserve fish easily. If a heat wave arrived, storing massive quantities of fresh seafood aboard a boat would be nearly impossible. If Xiao Wanan's prediction was fraudulent, she would be forced to reject the transaction. They said they could only supply 80 down jackets right now, and told us to take it or leave it, Lu Ying said. Take it or leave it. We'll definitely take them. We'll hit them back with a big surprise soon enough. Lin Hao picked one specimen of every fish variety, alongside individuals with drastically different body sizes, gathering a total weight of 4,000 kilograms. Storing all of these fish in the inventory slots would require no fewer than 300 backpack grids. When Xiao Wanan saw the 4,000 kilograms of fish delivered via the trade system, her face darkened instantly. He did this on purpose, absolutely on purpose. Xiao Wanan stamped her feet in anger, her high heels pounding rhythmically against the wooden planks of the deck. Sis, what are we going to do? The high-temperature disaster will kick in once the newbie protection phase ends. We can't finish eating all this seafood, nor can we preserve it long-term. We have to find a way to trade these fish off as quickly as possible. A 12 or 13-year-old girl standing beside Xiao Wanan covered her mouth and giggled quietly. We're getting giant lobsters to eat, heh. Xie Jian wore a triumphant grin. Several new trade postings suddenly popped up on the global trade channel. Large quantities of fresh seafood available for trade at a low cost. Trading premium lobsters for lumber, Boston lobsters, Australian spiny lobsters, and other high-grade varieties on offer. Glancing at the newly appeared messages, Lin Hao turned to his group. Now you know what supplies we need to stockpile, correct? Got it. The outcome was predictable. Those who had spread rumors about an incoming cold snap at the initial announcement were now frantically hoarding resources themselves. Make sure you don't stir up commotion in the trading market. Split into small teams and conduct trades in small batches each time. Zhang Xini stared at Lin Hao's well-defined 8-pack abs a short distance away and nodded hastily. Understood, we've got it. Rain kept pouring down, and the boat rocked up and down with the waves at regular intervals. Everyone aboard busied themselves with their assigned tasks. The sheer volume of goods to be exchanged forced the women to rush back and forth nonstop between the meeting room and the storage hold. Traded 100 gene of fish for an electric fan. Exchanged one down jacket to get a compact ice maker. Traded a mat for. Lu Ying and Li Muzi kept calling out transaction details, while another girl jotted down every record on a tabletop notebook. 5 young women shuttled between the meeting room and the bow deck, never carrying physical goods thanks to the inventory system. Thank goodness for the inventory slots. Otherwise, we'd be worn to the bone from all this running around, one girl complained. Does Lin, however, get tired? He's been fishing nonstop for 3 whole hours. That's nothing. Before we traded for those raincoats, he stood out in the open rain, fishing the entire time and never seemed bothered. I'll never understand the mindset of avid anglers. He's probably doing it all for the head teacher. The group broke into soft laughter. Gripping his fishing rod firmly and bracing his feet against the ship's railing, Lin Hao hauled aboard a massive fish weighing 700 gene in one go. That felt incredible. I skipped fishing yesterday, so I'm really getting my fill today. Pulling the huge fish onto the vessel boosted several of Lin Hao's physical stats. Strength, 50 stamina, 26-48 speed, 88 SSS, rank ability. Immortal Angling Trait 1, Blessed Angler Trait 2, Diligent Angler Skill 1, Precision Cast Strike. Skill 2, American Net Shot. Form a handgun gesture with your hand to fire a condensed energy blast equal in force to a full, powered punch, consuming stamina upon use. When targeting hooked prey, the projectile locks onto its target with a drastically increased critical hit rate. A new skill had awakened, and Lin Hao was elated inwardly. This ability filled quite a few gaps in his combat toolkit. For one thing, his fishing line only stretched 10 meters long, yet this projectile shot had an effective range of no less than 50 meters. It also vastly improved attack efficiency. Swinging the fishing rod for every single target was cumbersome with an obvious wind-up motion. While effective against mindless zombies, human opponents could easily dodge such slow attacks. Lin Hao tested the new combo right away. He combined Precision Cast Strike with his Blessed Angler trait to hook the fish cleanly, then activated American Net Shot to subdue the creature before it could thrash free. The entire process took less than a minute. The efficiency was staggering. American Net Shot was truly a game changer. Brutal as both of his combat fishing skills were, their practical value was undeniable. Lin Hao spent another 2 hours fishing in high spirits until Lu Moyu called him back inside the cabin. You'll catch hypothermia staying out there soaking wet and cold like this, Lu Moyu chided him. Lin Hao scratched the back of his head awkwardly. I'm back now anyway. What did you need me for? I've come to report our stockpiling progress. Lu Moyu led Lin Hao into the storage compartment. We have 2,500 milliliter bottles and 1,600 400 milliliter bottles of mineral water, plus more than 40 bottles of assorted beverages. We've obtained 17 electric fans, 1 ice maker, 11 refrigerators, and 2 air conditioning units. We also picked up 23 boxes of Huaxiang Zhengqi oral liquid. In total, we expended 1 ton of live fish, 172 pieces of clothing, and 13 water purifiers for all these goods. Lu Moyu silently marveled at how impressive Lin Hao's physical stamina was. Lin Hao nodded in approval. The quantity of air conditioners was on the low side, which was reasonable given their dual heating and cooling functionality. Their use was entirely reliant on a steady power supply. Great work. Tell the others to keep trading, prioritizing fresh water above everything else. Clean water is vital whether we face extreme heat or frigid cold waves. Lu Moyu nodded before bringing up another issue. Our inventory space is completely maxed out now. You've caught far too many fish. The fish either needed to be kept submerged in water to stay alive or slaughtered and stored in backpack grids, both options consuming massive amounts of storage capacity. That is quite the predicament. The two walked back to the covered deck. Chen Xiaoqiao had already implemented a 2-shift work schedule. The night crew had gone to rest and would take over duties after dark. A brutal silent conflict awaited them that night. Victory would secure comfortable living conditions for the foreseeable future, while defeat would leave them with no choice but to perish at sea. Lin Hao and Lu Moyu returned to their shared quarters to practice their ability cultivation. As the core combat strength of their crew, sufficient rest was essential for both of them. Gu Qingxian had assigned dedicated personnel to look after her injuries, which had healed noticeably. She had traded a barrel of engine oil through the trade channel for a single healing injection. After receiving the shot, her wounds recovered at a visible rate, allowing Lin Hao to remove her stitches that same afternoon. Full recovery was expected by the following day, and she remained the most powerful combatant on their ship. The rain stopped by the next dawn, and the sky finally cleared up. Lin Hao was jolted awake in a hurry by Lu Moyu, and the system announcement echoed in his mind the moment he opened his eyes. Congratulations to all surviving participants' initial global player population. 8,267,275,524 current survivors. 7,652,784,615 surviving vessels. 256,347,617 vessels destroyed. 176,374 regional channel notification. Sector 10086. Remaining survivors. 378,726 remaining vessels. 9,211 out of the original 10,000. A comprehensive leaderboard has been generated based on total supplies, crew headcount, combat power, and vessel tier rating. First place, Captain Kai, 3,891 points. Second place, Captain Fu, 3,199 points. 16th place, Captain Gu Qingxian, 2,788 points. 17th place, Captain Xiao Wanan, 2,756 points. Leaderboard updates in real time, with official rankings finalized once every 7 days. Rewards will be distributed according to final standings. Upon conclusion of the newbie protection period, multi-vessel docking stations will be unlocked. Multi-vessel docking stations allow several ships to dock simultaneously. The map marks each station's maximum vessel capacity. These locations contain richer supplies and higher-tier treasure chests. Alongside significantly elevated hazard levels, global natural disasters have officially commenced. All survivors are advised to prepare accordingly. Reward issued for ranking 16th in the sector leaderboard. 128 survival coins. The system notification cut off abruptly. Only 16th place? Today's ranking assessment put our vessel at a disadvantage, as a large portion of our stockpiled supplies had not yet been converted into tradable assets. That said, the leaderboard standings would shift drastically after the events of the coming night. So your name is Xiao Wanan. Staring at the vessel icon directly beneath their own ranking slot on the leaderboard, Lin Hao recognized this as the ship belonging to the individual who had spread the false weather intel. Meanwhile, Xiao Wanan stared at the familiar name above her own rank and turned to Xia Xianan. Gu Qingxian. Isn't she the younger sister of Gu Changqing? That's correct, elder sister. Impossible. How could that girl see through my scheme? Does her ship also house an individual with weather foresight abilities? Sis, haven't you wondered why Gu Changqing's name is nowhere to be found on this leaderboard? Humph. His absence from the rankings means one thing only. His vessel has been eliminated entirely. Xia Xianan watched the determined glint in her sister's eyes and sighed inwardly. Are you still chasing after Gu Changqing's shadow? The meeting room was packed full of crew members when Lin Hao and Lu Moyu pushed open the door and stepped inside. Gu Qingxian occupied the central seat. Her lips were still pale, yet her complexion had regained a noticeable amount of healthy color. Class monitor, you're able to get out of bed now. Lin Hao asked with concern. I can stand and walk, though I'm still unfit for combat duty. I came to organize disaster response arrangements for everyone. Lin Hao felt a surge of relief at this news. He could delegate most managerial work once more and return peacefully to his fishing. Gu Qingxian took a sip of water and spoke in a calm tone. Lin Hao has already laid out most of our plans, and I'm satisfied with his arrangements overall. I only need to refine a few minor details. She proceeded to outline a detailed division of labor covering onboard sanitation, meal preparation, patrol rotations, ship steering, equipment maintenance, as well as supply transportation and storage, assigning clear responsibilities to every single crew member. Lin Hao, your sole official duty will be fishing. You may arrange your remaining time freely. Lin Hao had always appreciated Gu Qingxuan's meticulous, fair task allocation. Back when they were classmates, no one had ever objected to the schedule she drafted. In the oppressive despair of the apocalypse, idle hands bred dark, chaotic thoughts. The workload Gu Qingxian assigned was manageable yet fulfilling, keeping everyone occupied without pushing anyone past their physical limits. Did she spend her entire bedridden day planning all of this? Lin Hao was stunned by the realization. She had ignored her own physical recovery to tax her brain with intensive logistical planning, earning his sincere admiration. Now that we've settled daily operations, let's analyze the information released by the system this morning. Take a look at the 17th place ranking holder. She is Xiao Wanan, heiress of the Xie conglomerate. Every girl in the room looked shocked upon hearing this news. The Xie Group was an extremely prominent enterprise across Jiangqing. Xia Wanan's father had built the conglomerate from nothing, and after taking over company leadership merely 3 years prior, she had doubled the group's total assets, cementing the Xia family as the unrivaled top enterprise within the city. No one had expected the party they traded down jackets with the previous day to be Xia Wanan herself. While Gu Qingshuan's family possessed considerable wealth, their influence within Jiangsheng had always been overshadowed by the Xia family's local dominance. We're living through the end of the world now. Past wealth and social status mean nothing. They're forced to scavenge for supplies just like us to scrape by. Exactly. We even outrank them on the leaderboard. I'm fully confident the class monitor can lead us straight to first place. Gu Qingxian shook her head faintly at their optimistic remarks. You all fail to grasp the full picture. Though we started in identical circumstances, their sharp business acumen remains their greatest advantage. Judging from their supply hoarding operations these past few days, their ambitions stretch far beyond securing a top 20 rank. On top of that, we outmaneuvered them in our last trade exchange. Knowing her personality, she will seek retribution for this loss. The room fell silent, a flicker of unease settling over the group. Worry not. I admit my business proficiency falls short of hers due to limited operational opportunities. Even so, I will lead all of us toward claiming first place and securing safe, stable lives for everyone. Her resolute words reignited the group's morale. Right? We still have the study committee member, the league branch secretary, and Lin Hao alongside us. With so many ability users on our side, we have no reason to fear them. Agreed. We already won our first confrontation against them. If we pulled it off once, we can do it again. There's no need for anxiety. Cheers and chatter filled the cabin. Lin Hao opened the global public chat channel and scanned the latest messages. Ha! Our crew is docking at Xichang Port soon. All resources on this island belong to us. Feel free to try and contest this if you're brave enough. And for your information, our ship is ranked 4th overall. The arrogant message was posted by Captain Li Ning, holder of the 4th leaderboard spot. The public chat channel erupted into instant turmoil. How can you claim resources for yourself while everyone struggles to survive this apocalypse? What space will weaker survivors have left to live if people like you keep acting this way? Poster ranked 8,714th. He's not wrong. Survival resources are earned through strength alone. Blame your own incompetence instead of complaining. Poster ranked 138th. I serve as the director of Jiangxing Police Department. I urge all survivors to compete rationally and refrain from violent conflict over material gains. Laws and authority hold no weight in the apocalypse anymore. Don't get cocky. I'm heading to Xichang Port right now. Any other people bound for the same location? Let's team up to take this captain down and teach him some humility. Poster ranked 5,283rd, sent you a private message right away. Let's put this arrogant person in his place. Poster ranked 6,766th. 2 crews ranked outside the top 5,000 think they can take down a 4th ranked vessel? Are they delusional, or am I misreading this? Hi. Ranked captains appeared irritable and confrontational, turning the entire public chat channel into a battlefield of verbal hostility. Moments later, Gu Qingxian summoned the crew for another urgent briefing. We've arrived at the docking station. Docking station, Redwood Port Multi-Vessel Berth, maximum capacity, 2 ships simultaneously. Treasure chest tier upgraded, supply quality upgraded, threat level upgraded, permitted docking duration 5 hours. This marked their first visit to a high-risk multi-vessel docking station. Many crew members lowered their heads, nervous about the incoming challenges ahead. This berth only accepts 2 vessels total, and another ship has already gone ashore. Let's move out quickly. Standing at the bow deck, they spotted the port shoreline with a wooden vessel moored alongside the dock. Thankfully, their ship is only a Tier 3 wooden vessel, same as ours. Lin Hao reassured the group. Gu Qingxian walked over to Lin Hao. You organize the landing party. I'll remain aboard the ship to guard against potential sabotage from rival crews. Lin Hao agreed to the plan. Their vessel had the smallest crew size at just 30 people. While some rival ships held close to 50 crew members, nearly double their manpower, granting those crews far more flexibility for task distribution. After a moment of consideration, Lin Hao finalized his landing roster. We'll deploy 13 people ashore using 2 vehicles. One 5-seater car will carry 6 people, while the larger vehicle fits 7 passengers total. The landing team will consist of myself, Chun Xiaoqiao, Zhang Sini, Liang Sisi, Lu Moyu, plus the 8 men who previously teamed up with me on scavenging runs. The 8 named men had received combat and psychological training under Lin Hao's guidance, making them reliable choices for the high-risk mission. The men were slightly surprised upon hearing their names called, but accepted the assignment without hesitation. Lin Hao and Lu Moyu, both experienced drivers, each took the wheel of one vehicle to transport the group onto land. Lu Moyu commuted to work by car regularly and possessed solid driving skills. Lin Hao was accustomed to driving long distances to reach remote fishing spots, honing his own driving proficiency over time. The two vehicles raced across the expansive dock grounds, the roar of their engines echoing through the port area. "What's that noise?" Sunan tensed up like a startled rabbit, vigilantly scanning the surrounding area for hidden threats. "Captain, that sounds like automobile engines." "Automobiles? There's no way anyone still has working cars." Many survivors lacked proper footwear for every crew member, so functional vehicles sounded utterly implausible to them. Their disbelief vanished the instant the two cars sped past their position, leaving the entire crew stunned. "They actually have working vehicles. How is this possible?" "Captain, they might have an ability that unlocks sealed vehicles. That has to be the explanation. But how did they manage to transport cars onto their ship?" Chen Nin could not wrap his mind around the logistics. Panic surged through him as he watched Lin Hao's group drive toward the inland supply zones. "Hurry up and move forward. They're going to seize all the valuable supplies first." Based on information shared across the trade channel, two primary supply sources were worth looting within the port area: abandoned shipping containers along the coastline and goods stored inside inland warehouses. Warehouse locations varied randomly across each port zone, making the shoreline containers the highest priority target for scavenging. Chun Nan and his crew of more than 20 people sprinted over breathlessly, glaring hostilely at Lin Hao's much smaller team. His group had docked first and held the tactical high ground for negotiation or combat before Lin Hao's vehicles completely nullified their advantage. Understandable rage burned within Chen Nan, yet he paused upon noticing the spear guns carried by Lin Hao's team. One female crew member even had a handgun visibly tucked inside her bag. His aggressive demeanor faded immediately. Chun Nan called out from a distance roughly equal to the length of a basketball court. "My name is Chun Nan. Might I ask your name, brother?" Lin Hao sized up the opposing crew's equipment. They were only armed with kitchen cleavers, hatchets, and machetes, with a single fire axe as their highest grade weapon. His team wielded spear guns, long, distance weapons with formidable stopping power. Spear guns did carry a critical flaw. Missing the initial shot required time to reel the line back and reload ammunition, leaving users vulnerable to close quarters ambushes. Furthermore, the opposing crew outnumbered Lin Hao's team by more than double. A full firefight would inevitably lead to casualties, and Lin Hao refused to bear responsibility for any deaths caused by his decisions. His own physical defenses were insufficient to block surprise attacks from his blind spots. Relieved by Chun Nan's civil tone, Lin Hao replied openly. "Lin Hao, what plans do you have for this scavenging operation, Brother Chen?" "Lin Hao? That name doesn't ring a bell from the leaderboard rankings." Chun Nan turned to his subordinate, Su Ning, for confirmation. "We've checked the top 200 rankings and found no record of a captain named Lin Hao. Their vessel is likely ranked below the 1000th position, same as ours." Chun Nan shook his head in disagreement. "I'm not convinced. Their equipment is top tier, and they own 2 functional automobiles. We cannot underestimate them under any circumstances. Brother Lin Hao, we're all unfortunate survivors trapped in this apocalypse. There is no need for unnecessary bloodshed amid scarce supplies. The port holds abundant resources. I propose we each scavenge independently without interfering with one another to maintain peace." The young women standing behind Lin Hao brightened at this statement, relieved to avoid violent confrontation. Zhang Sini stepped close beside Lin Hao and relayed her abilities analysis quietly. "The probability of them launching a sneak attack is only 17%, with a mere 3% chance of initiating a head-on assault. Such low hostility odds confirm the rival group intended to prioritize safe scavenging above conflict, which suited Lin Hao perfectly." "Very well. I trust you will honor your word, Brother Chen. We'll head over to the opposite side of the port to begin our collection and leave you to your work." Lin Hao responded in a raised voice. Once Lin Hao's vehicles drove several hundred meters away, Chun Nan finally released the tense breath he had been holding. "All right, everyone. Let's get to work gathering supplies as quickly as we can." Lin Hao parked the vehicles on the opposite side of the port and retrieved crowbars and sledgehammers from the car trunk. These tools were prepared in advance for prying open shipping container locks. "Lu Moyu and I will take 1 container each to break open the locks. The rest of you sort and collect usable materials inside. Prioritize items stackable within inventory grids first. Place high-value non-stackable goods directly into the vehicle trunks." Liang Cixi will take watch duty at all times to defend against any sudden hostile movement. Lin Hao swung the crowbar hard against the container padlock, snapping the metal lock with a sharp clang. He felt a surge of disappointment upon seeing the contents sealed inside. He had hoped to find electronic appliances, packaged food, or bulk metal materials. Yet the container was filled entirely with polished redwood furniture pieces. Redwood port, so the name refers to this redwood lumber. Redwood furniture still held practical value. The wood could be used to craft daily necessities for the crew or broken down into raw lumber materials. Far better than retrieving nothing at all. The moment the container door swung open, the 5 accompanying crew members filed inside to divide and store the furniture pieces rapidly. Lin Hao moved on to pry open subsequent containers, repeating the same process until the entire cluster of shore containers had been fully looted. Emptied containers could also be stored within the inventory system as stackable items, with a single empty container redeemable for over a dozen units of raw iron. Vessels that had collected large quantities of scrap metal from containers in the earliest scavenging phase had even climbed all the way to second place on the leaderboard. Not all the containers were filled with mahogany furniture. Several crates held practical small items such as mini electric fans and alarm clocks. As Lin Hao and Lu Moyu kept prying open containers, Zhang Xini was filled with confusion. It was understandable that Lin Hao had great stamina, but why did their counselor also possess such remarkable physical strength? She couldn't help wondering if Lin Hao had some special method to boost the physical fitness of those around him. This thought stirred a strong sense of curiosity within her. In terms of raw strength and endurance, Lin Hao outmatched Lu Moyu, which explained the gap in their natural talents. Still, Lu Moyu's SS-tier ability granted her far superior physical recovery capabilities. The issue was that sustaining her ability overnight drained her stamina severely. Midway through their scavenging, Lin Hao picked up on an odd silence, an unnatural hush stretching into the distance. It was not quiet on their end. Not a single sound of chatter or footsteps drifted over from the other group, even though one of their members had an unlocking ability that let them bypass lock, picking entirely. Where could they have gone? Prompted by Lin Hao's question, the others looked around. They found the surrounding area completely deserted. Liang Cixi blamed herself with a remorseful tone. This is my fault. I failed to keep a close watch on them, and now we have no clue about their whereabouts. A flicker of panic rippled through the group. Could they be hiding somewhere to ambush us? There's no way. We agreed to develop our supplies peacefully. They wouldn't go back on their word like that, right? Come on, this is the apocalypse. Betrayals and sneak attacks happen all the time with no warning. Calm down. I just checked the odds. There's only a 1% chance they're lying in wait to strike. Lin Hao let out a bitter laugh, thinking the figure was far too generous. He quickly grasped the gravity of the situation anyway. Chen Nan's party might have stumbled upon valuable supplies to loot, run into hostile creatures, and gotten pinned down in combat, or simply become preoccupied with their own troubles. Everyone get in the vehicles. We're heading out to track down treasure chests. Aren't we finishing the container search first? Put it on hold for now. We'll circle back if we have spare time after securing the chests. Lin Hao took the wheel of the lead vehicle, with Zhang Xini seated in the passenger seat. Turn left, and our odds of finding a chest rise to 51%. Head right instead, and the probability jumps to 67%. Drive straight ahead for a 71% success rate. Wait, hit the brakes now? I think we just passed the chest location. The probability is dropping rapidly. Lin Hao reversed the car, and Zhang Xini pointed toward a warehouse in the distance. The chest is almost certainly inside that building. The probability is 92%. Lin Hao felt a surge of delight. With this living probability tracker on his team, locating treasure chests would never be a struggle. The two vehicles crept toward the warehouse. When they were 50 to 60 meters away, muffled sounds of fierce fighting drifted out from within the structure. They're caught in a brawl inside. Prepare yourselves for combat. Every member gripped their spear guns tight, aiming the barrels straight at the warehouse entrance. Chen Xiaoqiao wore a new form, fitting black undergarment, a piece of gear she had looted from an iron chest the previous day that granted her 20 extra defense points. Most incoming attacks would fail to harm her, so long as blows landed against the protective plating across her chest. Watch out, someone's running out. Lin Hao shouted a warning. A dozen people stumbled out of the warehouse one after another, their faces contorted with raw terror as if they had laid eyes on a horrifying monstrosity. Chen Nin brought up the rear, clutching a long sword in hand. His clothes were torn and disheveled, yet an imposing aura radiated off his frame. Deep, bloody gashes slashed across his chest. Blood streamed down the wounds and pooled on the ground beneath his feet. A massive mutated fish monster leaped out of the warehouse, cutting off the retreat of several stragglers. Impossible. How can this thing jump such a huge distance? Chun Nen had already learned this creature's brutality the hard way. Trapped within the narrow warehouse space, the fish monster had ambushed them repeatedly with swift leaping strikes, slaying several of his crew members right before his eyes. The group had fled outdoors, hoping the open terrain would give them a fighting chance to kill the beast. It's them. Ask those people to save Captain Nan. He's losing so much blood. One of Chun Nan's female crew members cried out through her tears upon spotting Lin Hao's group, viewing them as their last ray of hope. Li Ning reacted in the complete opposite fashion. He raised a hatchet toward Lin Hao's party, his face sharp with wariness. Stay vigilant. They might be waiting to pick up the pieces once we're both worn down, ready to ambush us when we're exhausted. Lin Hao watched the exchange from a safe distance. Though he could not make out Li Ning's words, the sight of the man brandishing a blade toward his group struck him as ridiculous. His own teammates were being torn apart by the monster, yet he wasted energy guarding against outsiders. Lin Hao chose not to close in and take advantage of their misfortune. For all their battered appearance, anyone bold enough to claim high-value treasure chests had to possess considerable strength and skill. Gripping his sword with both hands, Chun Nen lunged forward, his movements blurring into multiple afterimages. Ability, Flying Thunder Slash. Unfortunately, Chun Nen only possessed a C-tier version of this ability. He could not teleport freely, only unleash a piercing forward slash along a fixed trajectory. The sword flash vanished, and one of the fish monster's front claws was cleanly severed. Incredible speed. Lin Hao kept his gaze locked on Chun Nan and barely registered the moment the sword was swung. Even so, the attack was far from enough to bring the beast down. Lin Hao knew firsthand how resilient this variant fish monster was. One had survived a piercing torso wound and kept fighting without pause. This specimen was even larger, roughly the size of an adult tiger. Its body covered in thicker gray, brown scales and twisted, grotesque features. Seeing the monster remain standing, Chun Nen unleashed Flying Thunder Slash a second time, only for the beast to dodge the strike with a sudden leap. That was the critical flaw of his ability. It could only target a fixed forward path. The monster whipped its tail into Chun Nan, rearing up to sink its jaws into his neck, when four thick iron chains suddenly coiled tight around the creature's body. Run, Captain. We'll hold it back. For crew members strained against the relentless pull of the monster through the chains, bracing their feet against the ground as they were slowly dragged toward the beast. Chun Nen planted the tip of his sword into the dirt to prop up his weakened, injured body. Elected captain by the group at the very start of their journey, Chun Nen had led his crew safely through countless dangers up until now. Every single person under his command had returned unharmed. Until today, 7 of his people had already perished. If these 4 were killed as well, the weight of the loss would be unbearable for him to bear. Leaning heavily on his sword, he limped toward Lin Hao's position. Li Ning hurried forward to support his injured captain. Captain Nan, what are you planning to do? I'm going to beg them for help. Li Ning immediately tried to dissuade him. Captain, we can't do that. We've already weakened the monster badly with our attacks. Letting them claim the reward would be worse than death for me. Besides, we still have our trump card. We have 1 grenade pulled from a bronze chest in my backpack. It's a devastating explosive weapon, our main asset for hunting this monster. Chun Nen roared in anger. Those 4 men are standing point blank against the monster. How could you detonate a grenade with them so close? If they die in the blast, how will I answer to their loved ones waiting back on the ship? Li Ning knew his logic was flawed, yet he refused to back down from his resentment. Fine then, let them fight the monster. Once the beast is dead, I can blow them up with the grenade and seize the chest for ourselves anyway. Supported by Li Ning, Chun Nan walked over to face Lin Hao. Lin Hao spoke first. Captain Chun, what brings you over here? We agreed beforehand that neither side would seize each other's supplies. There was clear subtext in his words, and Chun Nen picked up on it instantly. Brother Lin Hao, we underestimated the monster and paid a terrible price for our recklessness. I humbly ask you to intervene and save my remaining crew members. The supplies and the treasure chest inside this warehouse are yours, with no objections from us. Lin Hao hesitated over whether to accept the offer, when Zhang Sini leaned in to whisper a quiet reminder. Lin Hao, there is a 95% probability he will uphold this agreement. I'll take your word for it. I hope you keep your promise. Lin Hao addressed Chun Nen firmly, though his heart ached to surrender their hard-earned loot. Chun Nen nodded solemnly. CC, Professor Liu, cover my flanks. Lin Hao stepped to the front of his group and pulled out his fishing rod, firing a long, distance-hooked strike. He plans to attack the monster with a fishing rod? That won't even scratch its tough hide, let alone pierce its scales. Li Ning scoffed to himself, already picturing Lin Hao being torn apart by the creature. Chen Nan held a different opinion. He could tell Lin Hao was no fool and would never rely on an ordinary fishing rod against such a lethal beast. This could only mean one thing. The fishing rod was no ordinary piece of equipment. To the shock of every onlooker, the hook shot forward like a bullet, punching straight through the monster's armored scales and embedding deep into its flesh. Writhing in agony, the fish monster thrashed violently, yanking the forechain, wielding crew members off their feet. Recognizing Lin Hao had taken over the fight, the four men quietly scrambled away from the danger zone. Enraged, the monster charged straight at Lin Hao, swiping its single remaining front claw to strike him down. The hook remained anchored firmly in the beast's body, and Lin Hao readied his follow-up technique, the net strike combo. Lin Hao formed a pistol shape with his fingers, firing condensed energy bullets from his fingertip that homed in automatically on the monster's head. Each impact sent the monster reeling, tearing off chunks of flesh and scales with every shot. The beast pressed onward in its charge, closing the distance to Lin Hao with only 2 steps separating them. It leaped high into the air, its sharp claws glinting with deadly menace beneath the sunlight, poised to tear Lin Hao's body to shreds at any second. He's done for now. This is my opening. Li Ning slipped the grenade out of his storage inventory and gripped it tightly in his palm. He won't have time to dodge. Chun Nin watched anxiously. Certain defeat was inevitable for Lin Hao. But in the next instant, the monster froze mid-air as if a bird had slammed head-first into a skyscraper window. Lin Hao quickly fired several more concentrated shots, each striking dead center on the monster's skull. The creature collapsed to the ground in a pool of its own spilled blood. Lin Hao kept firing successive energy blasts until the system kill notification popped up. Killed 1 Tier 2 mutated fish monster. Reward: 20 survival coins. Lin Hao sauntered back over to the group of women with a faint smirk. He had never fought completely alone. He teased Liang Si. Your energy barrier was pretty flimsy back there. The monster's charge nearly shattered the shield on impact. Liang Si pouted with a dejected expression. My base defense stat is naturally low, so my barrier can't hold up well. It's not like you can boost my defensive attributes for me. Lin Hao let out a helpless chuckle. He possessed no ability to strengthen the stats of his teammates through shared power or similar means. Zhang Sini's heart skipped a beat upon hearing their exchange, wondering if Liang Si had discovered some hidden method to raise team stats and hoped to gain that same support from Lin Hao as well. Lin Hao turned back toward Chun Nan. Captain Chun, we'll head inside to claim the supplies per our arrangement now. Though bitter with resignation, Chun Nan nodded in agreement. Of course. We will leave this area immediately as promised. Before anyone could move forward, Li Ning blocked the warehouse entrance, grenade raised high with its safety pin already pulled free. Chun Nan panicked at the sight and rushed to calm him down. Li Ning, what do you think you're doing? I already struck a deal with brother Lin Hao. Your actions are making me lose all credibility. 7 of our crewmates died out here for nothing. How can you justify letting outsiders walk away with everything when our people paid with their lives? Chun Nan fell silent at the retort. He craved those supplies desperately, yet his group simply lacked the strength to contest Lin Hao's party. Emboldened by Chun Nan's silence, Li Ning raised the grenade higher and issued a sharp threat toward Lin Hao's group. Leave this place right now if you value your lives, or I won't hesitate to pull the trigger. Lin Hao's entire team tensed for combat. Zhang Sini drew her handgun and aimed it at Li Ning, while Liang Si activated her ability to wrap the whole party inside a protective energy barrier. Li Ning let out a cold sneer. Fire your gun, and I'll take all 13 of you down with me. My life for yours is more than a fair trade. Lower your weapon and get out of here. What should we do, Lin Hao? Lu Moyu asked anxiously. Lin Hao was faced with a tough predicament. His net strike combo could land a surprise attack, but without the accuracy bonus from the hooked line, he could not guarantee an instant fatal shot. Zhang Sini suddenly holstered her pistol and whispered quietly to Lin Hao. The threat is not fully neutralized. There is a high probability a second fish monster is hiding within the warehouse. Lin Hao's lips tugged upward in amusement at the revelation. An interesting scene was about to unfold. We're leaving. Keep all the supplies for yourselves. We don't want any part of this mess. With that statement, Lin Hao led his companions back to a safe distance away from the warehouse. Li Ning seethed watching them retreat without confiscating any of their weapons, yet he dared not act recklessly. He had no way of knowing if the energy barrier could withstand a grenade blast, nor could he risk being shot before detonating the explosive. Still, the prospect of claiming the warehouse treasure chest alone filled him with satisfaction. Captain Nan, go retrieve the chest at once. Chun Nan stood rooted to the spot, bound by his own moral code to reject such underhanded tactics. More importantly, he feared Lin Hao would retaliate and slaughter his remaining crew members in response. Li Ning shouted furiously, "Chun Nan, you can stand by your noble principles all you want. Play the righteous hero if you please. I'm going after that chest myself to honor our fallen teammates." Alone and still clutching the live grenade, Li Ning marched into the warehouse by himself. Chun Nan and his surviving crew stood frozen, unsure how to resolve the situation. Could they truly keep the group safe by relying solely on that single grenade as leverage against Lin Hao's team? A deafening explosion boomed out of the warehouse seconds later, blowing one entire section of the outer wall clean off its foundation. What in the world? Chun Nan stared on in utter shock. Why had Li Ning set off the grenade early? No one had time to process the blast before the wounded fish monster stumbled out of the ruined warehouse. This specimen was noticeably smaller than the one they had just defeated, yet still larger than any fish monster Lin Hao had encountered previously. There's another one. Panic washed over Chun Nan's crew, who scattered and fled in every direction. The monster limped forward, large chunks of its flesh blown open by the grenade blast to expose pale, white bone underneath. Just as the wounded creature closed in to hunt down the fleeing survivors, Lin Hao drove his vehicle straight into the monster, crushing it instantly beneath the chassis. Killed one Tier 2 mutated fish monster. Reward, 20 survival coins. Lin Hao smiled to himself, pleased to earn another 20 survival coins effortlessly. The group climbed out of the vehicle and faced off against Chun Nan's remaining crew. "You people are nothing but hypocrites. We risked our lives to help you, and you repay us with grenade threats." Chun Xiaoqiao shouted angrily. The female members of Chun Nan's group grew defensive at the accusation, insisting Li Ning had acted entirely on his own initiative and wasted their most powerful explosive asset without authorization. "Take your grievances up with Li Ning. None of us had any part in that. He got exactly what he deserved for his selfish schemes. How dare you?" Chun Nan cut off the escalating argument between the two groups. "Brother Lin Hao, you have full access to everything inside the warehouse. Consider this our formal apology for Li Ning's reckless behavior." Lin Hao did not decline the offer and led his team into the vast warehouse, whose far walls were barely visible in the dim interior. "This place is enormous. How long will it take us to hunt down the chest?" As the group fretted over the lengthy search ahead, a young girl ran out to meet them. "My ability lets me pinpoint the exact location of treasure chests. Captain Shin sent me to guide you as a gesture of our sincere goodwill." A chest locating ability. This explained why Chun Nan's group had reached the warehouse far sooner than Lin Hao's team. Following the girl through the sprawling warehouse for several minutes, they finally arrived at the chest's location. Greeted by a horrific sight, the chest sat nestled inside a nest constructed from piled human bones. The fish monster had devoured countless victims and stacked their skeletal remains to form its den, with two partially consumed corpses still rotting amid the bone mound. "All of you step outside for a moment," Lin Hao ordered firmly. Even without his instruction, the women were already rushing out the warehouse door, overwhelmed by the putrid stench emanating from the bone pile. Lin Hao prepared to fish the chest out with his rod, unwilling to climb atop the grim heap of skeletons. He cast his line, yet thanks to his veteran angler talent, the hook latched onto a stray bone fragment instead of the treasure chest from a considerable distance away. "Are you kidding me? Lock onto the chest properly this time." Lin Hao tossed the hooked bone aside in disgust and recast repeatedly on 3 more attempts, before the hook finally secured the treasure chest and dragged it free of the bone nest. The rest of the group waited outside with grim, unsettled expressions, unaccustomed to such gruesome sights within the apocalypse. When Lin Hao stepped back outside carrying the chest, his face remained somber. Lu Moyu stepped forward with clear concern. "Did you retrieve the treasure?" "I opened the chest and took out its contents already. The empty box is left back inside. Let's leave this place immediately." Lin Hao had originally planned to transport the sealed chest whole, worried his inventory would lack space for its contents. The nauseating atmosphere forced him to open it on the spot, stowing any excess items directly inside the vehicle storage if needed. Fortunately, the iron chest contained only a single crafting blueprint. Lin Hao turned to speak to the young guide. "Go tell Captain Shun he is free to scavenge the warehouse supplies now. This facility is far too large for us to loot completely on our own." The girl's face lit up with gratitude, bowing repeatedly before hurrying back to deliver the message. Once she was gone, Lin Hao explained his decision to his teammates. "We couldn't possibly strip this entire warehouse bare anyway. Building decent relations with Chun Nan benefits us. He strikes me as an honest person, and and we may have opportunities to trade resources with his group later on. Satisfied with his reasoning, the party headed toward another section of the warehouse to continue scavenging. They soon reached a separate storage area lined with neatly stacked empty shipping containers, which were simple to store away within personal inventory spaces. An hour passed. My inventory slots are completely full, one girl sighed, pulling her spear gun out to free up storage space, as nearly every item stack was capped at the maximum quantity of 99 units. My inventory is almost full too, another team member added. Lin Hao checked his own quickly filling inventory and issued new orders. Spend another 10 to 15 minutes scavenging. Then we'll head back once everyone's storage is maxed out. Just then, Chun Nan and his remaining crew walked over toward them. The sudden group movement put Chen Xiaoqiao and the other girls on edge, who raised their spear guns defensively. Stand down. We've only come to express our gratitude, Chun Nan called out calmly. We've finished gathering all the supplies we need, and the port is still a fair distance away, so we plan to depart now. Chun Nan gestured toward a pile of refrigerators stacked in a corner of the warehouse. That section holds various electrical appliances and furniture. While most of these household goods seem useless for the moment, they may grow far more valuable than raw lumber in the long run. Lin Hao wasted no time collecting every refrigerator into his team's collective inventory. When Chun Nan lingered without leaving, Lin Hao questioned him. Is there something else you need, Captain Chen? A faint, shy smile crossed Chun Nan's face. I've observed your honorable conduct through today's events, Brother Lin Hao. I was hoping we could exchange contact information to facilitate future cooperation opportunities. He had witnessed the overwhelming strength of Lin Hao's party and knew such a powerful group would only grow more influential as the apocalypse dragged on. Establishing an alliance now could prove vital for his crew's survival down the line. Lin Hao let out a helpless smile. He held no official captain role within his team, and the captain system privileges became inaccessible once a person disembarked from their original vessel. There was no way for him to approve friend requests. I'm not the captain of our party, so I don't have the authority to accept contact requests. Chun Nan grew even more determined to secure a connection upon hearing this response. Captains were almost always selected based on individual ability tier rankings. Even within his own group, a teammate with a B-tier support ability had been chosen as captain while he served as the primary combat fighter. If Lin Hao possessed such formidable combat power while being a mere team member, their actual captain must wield unimaginable strength. Could you share our captain's full name with me? I can send a friend request to them directly, and I would appreciate you asking them to accept it. Relenting to their persistence, Lin Hao gave them the name. Our captain is Gu Qingxian. Gu Qingxian, I've memorized the name. We'll take our leave now. The name tugged at a vague memory for Chun Nan, though he could not place where he had heard it before. Choosing to dismiss the thought for the time being as his group departed the warehouse. Shortly after they exited the building, one of Chun Nan's crew members gasped in sudden realization. I recognize that name now. Gu Qingxian is the 16th, ranked captain across all survivor vessels. 16th place? No wonder their combat power is off the charts. This group we encountered is likely just a small detachment of their full force. How terrifying must their complete military strength truly be? Did we really stand any chance against top-tier survivor factions this whole time? Chun Nan couldn't help but marvel at how powerful Lin Hao and his companions were, and he felt a sense of dread toward the top-ranked players on the leaderboard. If they had run into someone as cruel as the 4th-ranked contestant instead of the kind-hearted Lin Hao, would they have had the strength to fight back? Chun Nan muttered to himself, either reminding himself of the harsh reality or trying to lift his teammates' spirits. Stop overthinking this. With these supplies we've gathered, we can boost our overall strength. Let's work hard to catch up to them. Lin Hao and the others searched the warehouse for another dozen minutes, drenched in sweat to the point their clothes were nearly wringable. The weather's acting strange, it's heating up far too quickly. Chen Xiaoqiao tugged repeatedly at her collar to let trapped heat escape her body. A natural disaster is probably coming. Hurry and fill up our storage inventories. We need to head back immediately. Lin Hao was also struggling with the sweltering heat. The young women on the team were used to staying in air-conditioned dormitories, so their weaker physical constitutions made the heat far more unbearable for them. Lin Hao, however, was an avid angler accustomed to enduring all kinds of weather outdoors. Stuck inside this poorly ventilated, enclosed warehouse felt no different than sitting inside a steam sauna. Lin Hao, Zhang Sini doesn't look well, Lu Moyu called out abruptly. She supported Zhang Sini, who was covered in cold sweat with dry, pale lips, clear symptoms of heat stroke. Zhang Sini had been continuously using her supernatural ability to predict hazards and optimal looting paths during their warehouse search, guiding the group toward areas with higher chances of finding valuable resources. The overuse of her powers had drained her stamina severely, and the sudden sharp rise in ambient temperature had pushed her into heat stroke. Get her to the vehicle right now. There's air conditioning in the car. Lin Hao hoisted Zhang Sini onto his back and sprinted out of the warehouse. He covered several hundred meters and reached the vehicle in just 1 minute. He cranked up the car air conditioner and directed the airflow straight at Zhang Sini. So hot. Thirsty, Zhang Sini mumbled weakly. The air conditioner struggled to disperse the lingering heat trapped inside the cabin. So Lin Hao loosened the top buttons on Zhang Sini's outer shirt to improve heat dissipation. He handed her a bottle of drinking water, and as she gulped it down rapidly, her chest rose and fell steadily with each deep breath. Lu Moyu caught up shortly afterward, dampened paper towels, and placed them across Zhang Sini's forehead and limbs to bring her temperature down. It's only mild heat stroke. She'll recover after cooling off and resting for a while. Quit staring, will you? Lin Hao snapped out of his momentary distraction and rushed to defend himself. I was checking her physical condition, nothing more. Really, 100% truthful. Lin Hao's tone carried obvious hesitation. Just know your boundaries. Lu Moyu slid into the driver's seat and waited for the rest of the group to arrive before driving away from the warehouse. Lin Hao boarded the second vehicle and followed suit. They still had 30 minutes left on their scheduled exploration window, yet this emergency forced them to retreat back to their ship ahead of schedule. Once everyone returned to the vessel, Lin Hao spotted Gu Qingxian resting beneath a large sunshade. You're back. Did anything serious happen out there? Team leader, Zhang Sini suffered a heat stroke. Thank goodness. Gu Qingxuan's tense shoulders relaxed. Heat stroke was bad, but it was infinitely better than losing someone to fatal injury or death. Help her inside to rest. The cabin air conditioning is already running. 3 air conditioning units were installed on the ship, 1 in the captain's cabin and 2 inside the conference room for shared use by all crew members. Lu Moyu escorted Zhang Sini into the shaded hull area to recuperate, while Lin Hao stayed outside to recount the day's events to Gu Qingxian. Chun Nan is a solid addition. Gaining a trustworthy ally was easily the biggest reward we got from this supply run. Gu Qingxian smiled warmly, exuding complete faith in every decision Lin Hao made. Her next statement, however, left Lin Hao thoroughly confused. I've decided to form an alliance with Xie Wanan. We've had conflicts with their crew before. Why partner up with them all of a sudden? Lin Hao wondered if this shift stemmed from personal disagreements or mutual economic interests. Stunned by how swiftly her stance had flipped. Our disputes were nothing more than trivial squabbles. They won't get in the way of a mutually beneficial deal. What kind of alliance? What exactly are you trading? We're going to short the regional trading channel. Lin Hao's mind reeled the instant those words left her mouth. Seeing his stunned expression, Gu Qingxian covered her mouth and chuckled. I didn't think anything could catch you off guard. I'd assumed you stayed unruffled no matter what happened. Ignoring her teasing tone, Lin Hao pressed for details. Short the entire trading channel? There are over 9,000 ships and more than 300,000 players active in this marketplace. How could you possibly pull off something this massive? Lin Hao felt a surge of anxiety. If their plan backfired, every single person aboard their ship would face catastrophic consequences. Gu Qingxian pulled up the regional chat log and showed Lin Hao their conversation thread. Amid petty bickering and casual small talk were a few critical lines of dialogue. Miss Gu, are you interested in a once-in-a-lifetime lucrative deal? And Xia, what scheme are you plotting now? Haven't you stockpiled enough goods to earn a hefty profit already? Yeah, we both know those earnings will never be enough to close the gap between us and that top-tier player. Do you want to be looked down upon by him the next time our paths cross? What's your proposal? Only 2 water purifier blueprints have spawned across this regional zone. Your crew has 1, and I've secured the second. Between the 2 of us, we control over half of the region's clean water supply. We will standardize the selling price, buy out all water stockpiles held by independent ships, then drive up water prices to turn a massive profit. This will make surviving the upcoming string of natural disasters far more manageable for both our factions. Gu Qingxian had agreed to the arrangement. Over the 4 hours the rest of the team was out scavenging, she had eliminated half of the independent water selling vessels in the area and locked in an inflated market price for freshwater. During the initial 3-day newbie phase, the standard exchange rate for a 500 milliliter bottle of water was 20 units of timber. The 2 women set their price at 50 timber plus 10 iron ingots per bottle. Won't this price hike lead to countless people dying from water scarcity? Lin Hao was no bleeding. heart saint, but profiting off public desperation reminded him of unscrupulous middlemen, a group he had always despised. On the contrary, by setting a fixed market price, we prevent water costs from skyrocketing out of control, which ensures more people can actually afford to purchase clean water. We accept nearly any valuable resource as payment: fabric, plastic materials, seasonings, salt, even rare crafting blueprints of any kind. Gu Qingxian then pulled out an unfamiliar schematic drawing, its design causing most people to flush upon first glance. Why did you trade supplies for a weather balloon blueprint? These discarded items hold no practical trading value for most survivors. I traded 2 bottles of clean water to obtain this blueprint for those desperate groups. It's hardly a malicious act on my part. Besides, you and your combat instructor will have need of this equipment once your stock of stamina recovery pills runs dry. Our ship cannot afford to lose such a vital combat asset. Gu Qingxian spoke in a completely calm, matter-of-fact tone without a trace of embarrassment, which instead made Lin Hao feel awkward and flustered. Still, her reasoning held merit. Without a regulated pricing anchor, clean water would quickly become an unattainable luxury for ordinary survivors. Is there any chance a third water purifier blueprint exists in someone's hidden inventory? Lin Hao asked. Gu Qingxian shook her head firmly. The odds are astronomically low. The spawn rate for an identical, matching, quality blueprint inside valid treasure chests is only 0.01%. Even for generic water purifier schematics with identical functionality, the probability of a second copy spawning sits at just 0.05%, with the third copy being nearly impossible to obtain. All blueprint drops worldwide share a single global loot pool, not just the loot system for our regional server. The existence of a third blueprint is functionally impossible. Lin Hao was frustrated to learn all players were bound to this universal loot system, yet the news eased his worries. With no unknown variables interfering, their ship could develop its resources at an accelerated pace. Team leader, go ahead with your plan. I fully support you. Gu Qingxian had been waiting for this vote of confidence from her crew. Understood. Afternoon passed. Temperatures kept climbing and peaked at 45 degrees Celsius. Lin Hao opened the regional chat channel to look for new updates. It's only the first day, and it's already this scorching. How are we supposed to stay alive? Anyone reckon the temperature will break 40 degrees today? Forget 40. We'll be lucky if it doesn't hit 50. Damn whoever spread the rumor about an incoming cold snap. I wasted resources stockpiling piles of thick blankets for nothing. Could repurpose them as insulated wrappers for frozen snacks, at least. The chat feed was flooded with nothing but complaints about the extreme heat, holding no meaningful information. Lin Hao scrolled upward through the message history until he found the discussion he was looking for. What's become of the former 4th ranked captain? 4th place? You mean Captain Jiahao from this morning? The leaderboard rankings have already shifted. He's no longer 4th. Look at this, he plummeted all the way to 11th place. It's almost comical. I have to hand it to the 2 ship captains who fought him. Taking the 4th ranked player out of the top 10 is quite the feat. Both captains are dead. This single sentence silenced the entire chat channel for a full minute. It's confirmed. Searching their captain IDs shows their 2 vessels have been completely erased from the server registry. Multiple players followed up with screenshots and evidence proving the 2 opposing ships had been destroyed entirely. Jiang Jia, the former 4th place captain, seethed with rage after reading the chat messages. Though his crew had defeated the 2 attacking vessels in a brutal 2-front battle, they suffered heavy casualties and lost 1 powerful ability user in the conflict. Jiang Jia clenched his fists tightly, unable to comprehend why the 2 enemy crews had sacrificed nearly 80 lives just to raid his island's supply stockpiles. Foolish pests. Weaklings deserve to perish slowly. I even warned them to stay away from my supplies. Why did they insist on fighting me? Curse them, every last one of them. He slammed his fist hard against a wooden table, yet his skin remained completely unharmed by the impact. With the exciting conflict thread now cut short, Lin Hao lost interest in the chat channel. Life on the open ocean was dreadfully monotonous, and he usually passed the time fishing or browsing player conversations. This recent power struggle had briefly given him a gripping story to follow. Unfortunately, the conflict concluded abruptly with no satisfying reversal or justice. The 2 attacking crews had been wiped out by the ruthless 4th ranked faction. I've memorized your name, Jiang Jia. This man was undeniably brutal. While other players only noticed his ranking drop, they failed to see his faction's battle score had actually risen sharply from 2947 to 3368 after eliminating the enemy ships. Lin Hao also noticed Xia Wanan's crew had fallen 2 spots in the rankings, while Gu Qingxuan's faction climbed 1 position upward. Many players had collected large quantities of supplies during the island stopover, accounting for the minor shifts in the leaderboard. These small fluctuations would be rendered irrelevant once midnight arrived and the rankings reset drastically. By evening, only the crew assigned to night watch remained on duty. Everyone else gathered inside the conference room for dinner. Some ate instant noodles, others heated self-cooked rice packets, and a few settled for simple bread loaves. Lin Hao was treated to boiled fish prepared specially for him by Lu Moyu. He had discovered a personal quirk. He never grew tired of eating fish, no matter how much he consumed. That night, after installing new solid wood bed planks, Lin Hao's sleeping quarters felt far more comfortable and refined. No more sleeping directly on the wooden floor at last. Instructor, do we still need to proceed with physical cultivation in this sweltering weather? Of course we do. The temperature hit 47 degrees at its peak today, and forecasts indicate tomorrow will be even hotter. Train while your body can still tolerate the heat. Once temperatures spike further, you won't have the stamina to keep up your practice regimen. Lin Hao acknowledged her logic made perfect sense. Lu Moyu set up 4 electric fans at each corner of the room, directing airflow toward the bed to cool the enclosed space effectively. The pair endured multiple rounds of high-intensity physical training, sweating profusely through each session. Exhausting as it was, every moment of effort boosted their physical stats, making the hardship worthwhile. After finishing their training routine, both collapsed onto the bed to rest. Lin Hao soon realized his attribute values had not increased whatsoever from the first 2 training sessions. Lu Moyu had simply enjoyed the focused training process for herself. You took advantage of the training sessions for your own comfort. Lu Moyu curled up peacefully in Lin Hao's embrace and drifted off into a contented sleep. When dawn broke the next morning, the temperature hovered steadily above 40 degrees Celsius with no sign of dropping, only forecast to climb higher as the day progressed. 48 water purifier units were running at full capacity. This was not the limit of the crafting materials available, but the maximum number the ship's deck space could physically accommodate. One small positive development came with the intensifying sunlight. The operational efficiency of the solar-powered purifiers had improved drastically. Originally, each purifier only produced 500 milliliters of clean water per hour via solar energy input. Now the most efficient units generated up to 2 liters of water each hour. Not only had sunlight grown more intense, but daily daylight hours had also lengthened by several hours. Lin Hao once again used the regional chat channel as a source of daily entertainment. It's unbearably hot. Our ship has completely run out of drinking water. Is anyone willing to sell us some fresh water? Multiple vendors are listing water for sale right now. I'm appalled. Some players are charging 70 timber for a single 500 milliliters bottle. Are they that desperate for raw materials? I'll stick to purchasing from vendors selling at 50 timber per bottle. I don't have any timber, iron ore, or leftover food supplies left. I possess nothing of trading value to barter for water. 2 anonymous merchant stalls accept nearly every raw material as payment. You can try negotiating with them. Fellow survivors, this is a message from Jiangqing Garrison. In this time of crisis, refrain from price gouging and destabilizing the market. Ordinary people cannot afford these inflated water costs. You're clearly an imposter posing as military personnel. If you're so concerned for survivors, why don't you distribute free water supplies? Exactly. Empty words mean nothing without actual aid for vulnerable survivors. Lin Hao now fully understood Gu Qingshuan's reasoning behind her pricing strategy. While she had raised the market cost of water, she had also capped the price at a stable threshold to prevent uncontrolled, ruinous price inflation. He recalled events from real-world natural disasters. Convenience stores would openly mark goods at double prices during floods, even under functional legal systems. During the global pandemic, ordinary disposable face masks had been marked up 40 to 50 times their original cost, selling for over 50 yuan apiece. Without the stable water supply Gu Qingshuan's faction provided, the entire regional resource market would have already collapsed into total chaos. Lin Hao walked into the renovated conference room. Ever since they looted high-end furniture during the warehouse raid, the space had undergone a full makeover, fitted with a polished formal conference table, solid wood armchairs, and decorative potted plants arranged along the table's center. Suddenly, the ship lurched violently as its structural framework underwent a massive transformation. The original wooden hull was reinforced with large sections of metallic plating. The fabric sails vanished entirely to be replaced with an observation watchtower, and 2 mechanical engines were mounted onto the ship's bottom hull. Did Gu Qingshuan just trigger a full ship upgrade?